Hey, welcome back to the Earn by Experience podcast, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Ben Browse. This week I had a financial planner on the podcast named Mike Sise. Mike works for CFP. He's vice president, certified financial planner, comprehensive financial solutions, 953 Mount Herman Road, Salisbury, Maryland. Securities and advisory services are offered through Cetera Advisors, LLC, member FINRA/SIPC, a broker, dealer, and registered investment advisor. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity. The discussion during this podcast was for general education and informational purposes only and does not constitute individualized financial, tax, legal, or investment advice. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I really enjoyed getting to know Mike and hang out and shed light on what it takes and, what the financial planning industry is about. So I hope you guys enjoy it as well. A lot of good information in this one. So just want to say thanks for tuning in each week, and we'll see you next week. Super happy to have you in the studio, man. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me. It's great. This is a heck of a setup you've got here.
Thanks, man. I just put it together, and here we are, man. I'm actually happy you reached out on social media, and I'm looking for guests. So when I saw you and I looked at what you did, I'm like, heck, I don't know anything about it. So let's have you on and have it, sit down.
Sure.
I love it. Yeah. So Michael Sise, right?
That's it.
Okay. You're a financial planner.
Yeah, I'm a certified financial planner. I've been in the industry for about 12 years. It'll be 13 this spring. And I talk to people about money. I help accumulate, spend, preserve, try to not pay as much in tax as you might otherwise pay, whatever it really goes to in the conversation. I try to be aware and competent and, be able to help people and go meet them where they are.
That's pretty cool. I was just double checking my cameras are on real quick. I just want to double check. I can clip this part out, but I want to just double check. We're up. Just want to make sure. I've done that. I actually recorded a whole episode and didn't have the cameras on. So it'd be like that sometimes.
I say that more often than my wife would like.
Doesn't hurt to check. So
I do be like that.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. So what got you interested in the financial planning space, throughout your background?
Yeah. So I grew up locally. I was in Berlin and Bishopville. I went to Stephen Decatur my whole life. I was here. And I went to Liberty University for my undergrad as a psych major. The first 2 years I was there, I was looking at psychology. Got to the point where I realized just how much more school would be required to actually, build a career in psychology. And then I was also concerned locally, that the hiring market might not be robust enough for me to actually stay on the Eastern Shore long game, which was always my goal. And then it was actually, I kind of just switched to accounting as my major, as a throwaway business major. I figured I could find a job anywhere and whatever. But then the first day of senior year, I sat in this random elective that I had just kind of thrown on my schedule to get the whatever business credits that I needed, the general ones. And it was personal financial planning. And it was, this man kind of became a mentor of mine well beyond senior year, but it was the minute I left that class, I went straight to my counselor's office and I was just like, can I take all 6 of those classes and still get my accounting degree by May? And she's like, yep, this is what you got to drop international finance. I'm like, awesome. So drop, I forget what it was, corporate, and then some I don't even know, random macroeconomic. I just drop, and I replaced them with investments, tax planning, estate planning, and there's 3 other modules of the Certified Financial Planner prereqs. And I was able to get all of those done senior year. And it was just that's it. That's exactly it. It integrated. I think I'd grown up familiar with money. I'd grown up with family members that were investing and, explained it to me and were helping me to understand what a dividend was, what interest was, all that stuff. So I kind of understood from an early age what all these words meant, but it never really clicked. It never integrated or harmonized in my brain until I sat in, those 6 classes senior year. And then the psych element like to be able to sort of tie in my natural interest or curiosity in like how people interact, how people sort of process information, or where like emotion becomes like too relevant in their decision making. It just sort of all fell into line, just clicked in, and it was like, that's what I'm going to do. So
That's freaking awesome.
yeah, it was
dude.
amazing. It was a really instant realization that I could move home, I could build a career doing something that I liked, and it was something that I think is also very helpful to people. So super fulfilling.
That's awesome, man. I love when somebody finds what they are here to do, or like how you. I mean, I don't know if this is your end game, but like it sounds like you learned a lot in that class that really spoke to you that this is the path for me.
Yep.
What it doesn't get any better than that, I don't think. Like
No,
if you
I
could do
love it.
something you like forever, I'm so pumped.
It my business partner and I speak regularly about how we can't imagine a better profession, a better line of work,
Yeah.
in that it has certain work life balance options that are great. You know, you can kind of schedule appointments where and when and what have you. Post pandemic too, there's been I think more sort of acceptance of the virtual meeting setting with these clients, and you know that's helpful schedule wise. I have young kids. My goal was always to be able to coach the baseball team, do this and that. And the conventional 9 to 5 was always a bit intimidating, whereas this is more of like a hybrid 9 to 5, if you will. Like I definitely work 40 hours a week, many weeks more. Certainly early in the career, it was way more. But it's now more and more sort of groomed and catered. And like these are clients that I really enjoy working with. These are clients that are sort of bought into the process of working together and like trying to really strategize. So, you know, when you throw all that into the same kind of workday, more often I am leaving kind of frustrated that I didn't have another hour at work, but also sort of like thrilled that I can go and be at my daughter's dance class or, you know, whatever the thing might be. So no, it totally clicked. It's just such a blessing at that point in my life that it was like instantly clear to me, like where I needed to go and what I needed to do. And so far so good 12 years later.
That's awesome, man. And you're right here on the Eastern Shore helping out our local community. Because I think about that a lot too, where, you know, if our community is thriving, it directly impacts the people that are right next to us. So that's the biggest thing for me. You
Yep.
know? And networking and this whole thing right here, just getting to know you is interesting. And I hope to come away from this a little more educated. And when you hit me up, you're like, well, you want to talk money? I'll come on, or, you know, whatever you said. And I'm like, well, the only thing I know about money is how to freaking spend it. So, you know, it was nice to hopefully learn a little bit and kind of figure out, you know, even for me, where I should, you know, maybe steer the ship. So it's interesting.
For sure. It's so, you know, the positive compounding benefits of good financial practice and good decision making, I think, is so significant and important. And it is the direct mirror of the opposite, which, if you want to use like compounding growth against debt interest, I mean, these things are just complete opposites in what they do. Interest is costing you money, compounding growth is earning you money. It's like those are in complete contradiction with each other. And I think that the late planner who just doesn't take money seriously or doesn't put any of the building blocks in place early to automate what they're doing financially, it becomes a too little too late. You know, if any sort of like pre-existing ignorance or shame or frustration about money was there, that just like compounds it, exacerbates it, and you end up with somebody that's just sick about their financial situation when it would have been a very basic set of improvements, the earlier the better, but really at any point that could have totally re-steered that ship into a more constructive and productive outcome. So that to me, it's like, I hate that it's such a taboo topic for people. I hate that money is shy, you know, or whatever term you want for that. My family, it was never that way. And then when I started to, you know, as an adult, sort of understand how more people deal with money and speak about money within their household, it's just like, wow, like people don't talk about I'll never forget. I met my wife's father, and I basically straight up asked him what he had in his bank account, like early in the relationship, to try to understand. And like, you know, there's more to the story than that. But his face was like, "What the heck are you talking about? Why would you like?" Very clear that that was not a question he was getting very often, but it is a question that I ask on a daily basis multiple times. So to me, there's nothing sacred about that. There's no shame in that. It's like, do you have an emergency fund? If not, are you building toward an emergency fund? If not, do you have too much in cash, which is its own separate conversation that I have that discussion, like, man, all the time.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, if you have a large amount of cash reserves that are unproductive, whether that's physical bills in the Folgers jar, or if it's like at a bank account and checking, not savings, or whatever it is, or at a bank that's not yielding you what you might be yielded, at a different bank. To me, those are unproductive dollars. And I'm like, let's problem solve, let's strategize, let's use logic, and, be sort of like and critical in a like constructive way. Obviously, I mean, hopefully it's not meant to ever just wag a finger at somebody's
Right.
current position. It's like, where can we build?
Yeah, you're just trying to help. Yeah. So
Always.
so where does one start? Like if somebody's starting to think about financial planning, I guess the spark is there where you're like, well, you know, age is coming a factor. I want to retire at some point. Um, you know, looking forward, where's the starting point?
Yeah.
Any,
Yesterday, anywhere. One starting point I have often, that I think is a really good one, is when people are charitably giving, even just like a few bucks here and there, and like the offering plate at church, or if it's like a project they're donating to, or if it's, I mean, anything. I'm not talking about like a Goodwill drop off with clothes. I'm talking about cash, or some sort of like a monetary gift. So many people give inefficiently, where with respect to the IRS, if you're giving $1 from your checkbook and you're not itemizing on your taxes, up until July at least, it was not a deductible gift. Now the big beautiful bill has altered that slightly, but it's only $2,000 a year for a married couple that's actually deductible right now. Otherwise, you have to be itemizing, and very few people are itemizing with these new laws that we've had over the last 5-7 years. So to me, it's like, if we're giving $5,000 a year, $2,000 a year, whatever, $8,000 a year, are we getting as much benefit from that as possible? It's not to be like, hey, don't give if you're not getting tax benefits. Like, hardly. So to your point about the community, I love it when I see people sort of give back, sow into the community, whether it's a single project, or if it's some kind of like long-term campaign, or if it's just an active church tithe or whatever it is. To me, it's awesome. Let's encourage that and celebrate that. It's great. But it's another area where money being a taboo, I think, creates a real inefficiency that the IRS benefits from and that the community does not. So many people have other ways in which they could give, where they're either avoiding future taxes or getting tax advantage now, but instead they're giving with the dollar in their checking account and they're not itemizing it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's from a regular person's perspective, like me, that I just go attend these things and say I go to church and stuff. It seems insignificant to throw 20, for $30-$40 and give whatever. I didn't think about it as a tax deductible.
So let's run the math. So let's just say you pay 30% in taxes for the sake of just blanket argument. So you put $70 in the offering plate a week at church. Just humor me with that number for a minute. For you to get your hands on $70 in your checking account that you in the ATM out and you put in the offering plate, you earned $100, pay the IRS 30 of it, and what's left goes to the church here at $70. It's great. $70 more than they had before. By no means would I discourage that gift. Instead, I'm sitting here like, $30 to the IRS for a $70 gift? That's sick. It's like, why?
Right.
Is there a better way to structure that? And the answer in most cases is yes.
Okay.
It's not in all cases, certainly, but it is easier now under this recent tax change, in my opinion at least, to get some credit or to be giving strategically in a way that's not offering the IRS extra, if you will. And back to your question, here I am like answering the question about where do you start? Where do you go? Wherever you are, whether it's charitable giving, whether it's that you don't have enough, to feel comfortable in your emergency fund, whether it's that you have a bad debt on the balance sheet that's just really like keeping you up at night or really inefficient because it's 25% interest rate or whatever. Start wherever you're at and use the current challenge as an opportunity to improve. And to me, those dominoes fall pretty quickly. But if you wait too long, there's not enough dominoes left to fall over and create a real beneficial outcome or any momentum. To me, it's the sooner the better. The earlier you start, the better. And who cares in what arena, I guess, is my answer to that, because there's so many areas.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to me because I don't think about it on a daily basis. I think about, day-to-day stuff, and this seems like extra to me. But it sounds like, and that's not to diminish you, it's not something I think about regularly. Sure. But it sounds like to me, a regular person, say, even insert me as an example, just comes to you and says, hey, this is what I'm doing. Is this the most efficient way to do it? Yeah. And you just help build on what we're doing daily that we're already doing. It's not like, or maybe it is, and it adds to it. But like when I think about a financial planner, I think about like retirement and wanting to save and things like that. So it encompasses everything.
No doubt. And the CFP, the Certified Financial Planner, that is the gold standard in our industry as far as sort of like best practices, the competencies that are required or expected from somebody that's really going to be comprehensive in their approach, you know?
Okay. So you have to break that down, that's like me being a good client to you, right? Or no?
I would
Like,
say,
do I have an obligation to be a good client to you? Is that what you're saying?
I think that's a separate line of the discussion. So for me,
Okay.
it's if the expectation of a client, I think in this engagement is transparency. You know, I've had clients that kind of balk when I ask about their tax return. They don't want necessarily for me to see their tax return for whatever reason it might be. And that's like, I mean, okay, it's just like I'm flying blind in that area in a way that I could potentially be helping.
Okay.
And I think that the CFP as a sort of curriculum and then like the rigor of the exam and the continuing education, all that it requires, I think a CFP advisor is often reminded of the correct topics and the correct approach areas to make sure that they're not missing something obvious, whether it's insurance. You know, we were talking offline previously, you know, lawsuits happen, you know, I mean, people fall on your driveway in front of your house and then they can sue you. It's like, it's kind of a crazy thing you never really think about. You never stop and really give thought to this kind of stuff. To me, it's solvable. I don't sell insurance, but I'm familiar with umbrella liability coverage that could protect someone in a scenario like, it's like, if we see someone with a pool with no fence around it, it's like, okay, well, do you have the correct protection in place to not expose yourself financially? That is not a percentage return investment based conversation, but it is one that I have in my office regularly.
Gotcha.
So it really does go a lot of directions.
Yeah, I was say it sounds like you encompass a whole bunch of things, like a broad spectrum, like on a day-to-day basis, in budgeting and things like that. But
Sure.
to something you said earlier, though, like why people don't do it more, I think it doesn't seem like that we're really pointed in that direction. It seems like society's like structured for us to run blind and just figure it out, unless there's some other way that or like your parents are full of wisdom or something that was poured into you. It's like even when I graduated high school, I was the most ignorant graduate ever, you know. So it's like we're almost set up to fail.
No, I totally agree. And if that wasn't true already, where were you taught finance during your education, K through 12, or in college?
Nowhere.
Yeah,
There was no even talk about balancing a budget or a checkbook or anything. It was nothing about saving, nothing about retirement. It was just go to college. You'll figure it out.
Nope. And I mean, to me, it's, again, that's a sick combination in several areas. One, if it's not taught early, any topic, I don't care what it is, you were just talking about what your kids are driving around the property. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they show an interest early and they jump on something, it's like, great, that kind of self-solves. It's something that's fun. It's something they build on. It's wonderful. But if a kid never expresses any interest in talking about money, and to them, it's like, of course, we live in a consumerist sort of society. It's, I mean, what are you driving? What are you wearing? What type of vacation? What are you hunting with? There's so much about like what stuff costs and like the vanity of something being expensive. That is being taught in a way that, spoken or not, is just force fed, I feel. Mm-hmm. Social media exacerbates that terribly. And it's, I mean, here we are down this like spiral, whereas like where are the foundational, like the building blocks of stewardship, I think is probably the correct word. You know, I'll give the example, and I think it's not an example I am giving for the adult audience member. It is instead like what I am doing with my daughter to try to build some familiarity that they can then pollinate and grow out. So I give her an allowance for $10 every week. We've been trying this for the last couple months or whatever. So my current experience, whether you tack on taxes, charitable giving, health insurance, whatever, if I earn $100, I'm not keeping more than 50 of it. You know, to me, it's like after everything is paid up, it's like what's left is typically half or less than half. So to me, we give her $10. We get her to put 5 of it in the offering plate at church, and then she gets to put 5 of it in her piggy bank and spend however she might. So to me, it's like if eventually as an adult, she considers a 10% church tithe to be an inoffensive, natural, like joyful giving type experience because she was, you know, built around this idea of giving half. That's great. Maybe she'll be in a position where she can give half as an adult, and that's even greater still. But at least it's this scenario where you're handed a $10 bill and it's like you see 5. Because to me, if you're not paying yourself first, whether it be through a retirement contribution, some kind of savings account bucket, an investment in a business, wherever. If you're not investing in your future with those dollars and you just consume them, that puts the entire onus on your future self to continue earning at a point in life when you may be either physically unable to or physically not interested in continuing to work and bust your butt every day to earn a paycheck. So to me, it's like, man, pay yourself first in some capacity. Do that in a way that's logical and is efficient and is growing. And then what's left, you learn to live on that. Then the transition, whether it be a job change or retirement, or you add kids, or you add a bigger mortgage or car payment, whatever, when that sort of adjustment to your monthly budget occurs, you take it in stride. It's another sort of step towards this sort of like long game direction instead of some hard left turn, surprise that now I have to work more hours or pick up a side job or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it sounds awesome that you're teaching your kid that from the beginning. My kid too is he's learning about this stuff. He's more interested in like learning about stocks and things and how to make money. It's pretty interesting.
Sure.
But yeah, it's interesting. A lot of times, one for me, I didn't think I'd make it to 30. I know it sounds silly to say that, but
In
like,
life?
yeah, like
Oh
I was live in the fast lane,
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm going to use myself as an example, but like, there's probably a lot of us out there that are like, just not YOLO in it, but like, just going where the ship kind of, we're semi steering the ship. If I feel like, like I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of how things work at this point, but like, probably not the best at, everything. So, but yeah, not that I think I didn't, I'm just making that funny. Like I didn't think I'd make it to 30, but it's one of those things where it's like, it seems like so far away, retirement. It's like, it's hard to want to plan that far away. And it's like, my brain says, well, you may die in a car wreck. You may do this. You may get cancer at 50. There are so many other things. And I'm like, well, I'd rather like live for now. And that sounds completely reckless. And it's not all the way live for now. But at the same time, like I want to experience things and not have any regrets too.
For sure.
So I kind of fall into that weird category where like I'm trying to do everything right, but at the same time, I'm probably just like a lot of people out there. So I don't really, it's interesting that you hit me up because it's probably something I should put more time into considering.
See, I think there's a benefit of any accountability. I mean, you're talking about money and you have a little bit of like a constructive nag or encouragement in the right direction or some reminder or whatever it is, and you're more likely to make a good decision and build from it. And that's great. But to me, it's like you automate this stuff early and then you stop thinking about it such that you can still focus on the stuff that matters, that you find joy in or fulfilled by. Mm-hmm. The last thing I'm doing at night is like sitting there reviewing, what was my 401k contribution this year? It's like, I don't look at that, it's automated. I've got it set up. I know that directionally it is sufficient, and then from there, I don't think about it anymore. The best example of that, I think, is if you're doing like 5% of your pay, say, into an employer retirement plan, and this is of course different for business owners than it is an employee of a corporation, but say you're putting 5% away and then you get a 5% pay raise. Everybody takes home that pay raise and then they adjust their lifestyle around it. And now they DoorDash one more time every month or whatever they do. And it's like, they just immediately like step up and assume that as the new standard with no consideration that it's a hard thing to put that toothpaste back in the tube. Whereas if you just get that 5% raise and buckle it down to 4, so now your deferral to the retirement's not 5, it's 6, you've taken 1% off your raise, you still get a 4% raise. You just haven't eaten all 5% the next day. You know what I'm saying? And that those soft adjustments, there's just a lot of like strategy behind that and a lot of automation that makes it more sort of tolerable, but also is still actively building for you in a way that you don't have to sit there and like babysit and be worrying about all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The point you're making about living for today is so absolutely so significant. I have observed for a while, clients will retire. Who cares what the balance is? Let's say it's $1 million retirement balance that they've accumulated over some 40 years in their career. Well, there's several things that happen. Like the first thing is they'll point at me and be like, this goes really quick. Don't be surprised when you wake up tomorrow and you're 65 and retiring.
That's what they say.
Oh yeah. Bar none.
Okay.
Bar none. And that transcends the kid conversation, like how quick your kids grow up, but that typically is going to dovetail. So like they'll say, it's going to go so fast. I feel like I was just sitting in the factory with Eric and he told me to put money into my 401k and thank God I listened. Now here I have $1 million I would not have had if Eric had not given me the kick in the butt that I needed. you know, I hear that time and time again, and how fast it went is just the recurring theme. And I totally believe that. I look at my 8.5-year-old daughter and I'm just like, what the heck? Like, how did that happen?
Oh yeah.
I don't know how that happened. It's just such a blur. You know, the days are long and the years are short, or whatever kind of thing. I think that that's not just for parents. I think that's any sort of the rat race mentality of the career. If you just put your head down and work, 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 die, that is not it. Nobody wants that.
Well, that's what it feels like all we do. So like somebody
Right.
in my like my brain thinks about like I want to try to live a little bit more than just work and pay taxes and die. So like that's where I ride that fine line of like trying to get it all out and experiences and not trying to be like I definitely don't try to go YOLO, but like I just want to try to get it all out or like find my true potential. So it's like I keep saying it's not something I think about, but it truly is not one thing I've ever thought about on the financial planning side. I mean, saving and stuff is normal,
Sure.
but like finding out little ways and things to compound it, and also it seems minuscule at the time, but over time it just continuously adds up, and I completely understand that. But it seems like the starting point. You ought to start tomorrow, like it's like insignificant. So might as well just do it tomorrow, and then you never do it. Am I wrong in saying that?
100% not
That's
wrong.
probably what a lot of people think.
It is so much less of a heavy lift than people build it up to in their minds. They create this boogeyman of like uncertainty. Am I doing this right? Am I doing the right type of retirement account? Am I working at the right bank? Am I using the right credit card? Am I paying for the right insurance? I mean, I don't know the answer to all these questions for myself, let alone for every single client. But again, accountability is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law asked me yesterday if my homeowner's insurance would cover some kind of like shingle damage that would potentially offset part of the cost of a new roof. And I was like, I don't know. I should probably look at that. I don't know. I don't pride myself in knowing every single possible element of my financial situation or of anyone's, but directionally, like the big topics, I feel like there's so many marginal little tiny adjustments that are both gratifying and fulfilling in that now you're paying the IRS less of what you're earning, or you're building something more, whether you're here to live on it or not, whether it be for a potential widowed spouse, whether it be for your kids. I mean, to me, the peace of mind of being proactive in those areas, even like, I don't think lazy proactive is the term I'm looking for, but automated proactive, where it's built into my current income in a way that I have adjusted for and sort of tolerated. I don't think that's such a big ask. I don't think that's so difficult. And the price of not doing it is immense, in my opinion, because it's like, sure, maybe it is that you are going to pass prior to a chosen retirement date, but will your spouse with you? If not, I mean, back to the stewardship thing, it's like, what level of preparedness is correct or appropriate, or like your personal goal? I'm not here to feed it to you. I'm here to ask about it.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, again, there's like, I have this dear friend, my first cousin. She, like, every time I talk about stuff like this, she just starts like beeping like a robot at me, just making fun of how like impersonal the topic becomes and how I'm just handling it in a complete robotic way. But at the same time, to me, it's like there is, I think, a black and white nature to how we handle our money. And if it is just a total polarized conversation where you never spend on anything you find joy in and then you're gone, or you spend every penny only on the things you find joy in and then you're gone, like, how is there no middle ground in that? I think I am efficient at helping people find the middle ground in that conversation because it's there. I think it's there.
No, definitely. I can see it. Definitely, I see the need for you guys, and even just opening your mind to something greater than what you think. Like you just mentioning the things that you're saying. I'm like, well, it's finding a place in my head right now. It's just not something that I've been super concerned about because I think I have it under control. But
For sure.
I'm probably like a lot of people where probably need to reach out. But I also think there's something too where we just live our lives and we're like, man, I just want to raise my kids, hang out with my family, do the things that I'm trying to do. And it's tough to just do that stuff and take care of your car and the oil changes and mowing your grass. It's just like, I know I'm not trying to complain or bring it down. It's just like there's a lot of things that we're all constantly thinking about, and then I can just see how this isn't something super high on the priority list. And I don't mean to diminish it. Like I said, it's just I'm so happy that you're bringing light to my own mental space. Where I can start thinking about it. to a bigger depth.
You're spot on. I would say that there is a end goal, not of accumulating $1 million or $5 million or whatever. The end goal is enough enough? Do I have enough for whatever? I don't work with my hands. The disability outcome for me, I think, is a different described sort of incident or injury than a disability for you. And so therefore, I don't have a huge disability policy. I feel that if I had control over my mind and voice, that technology would allow me for the most part to continue offering the value that I do to clients and contributing to my work as I am today with my hands. So my sort of burden for disability insurance, as an example, is maybe less than someone that works only with their hands, and that their skill set cannot be converted into a verbal dialogue, or a dictation. You know what I'm saying? So I think that it is very personal. And I think that back to, if you are 1% better each day at anything, even if that 1% is something that never takes place, whether it's life insurance, disability insurance, or saving for something or whatever, it just creates such a smoother path to where, if the end goal is not worrying about it because you worried about it just enough to get to the point where now you don't have to me, that's a beautiful thing. Many, many clients that have a robust, healthy retirement do not pick up the phone the first time that I call, or come in. They're hard to get in for their review meetings with me because they're just chilling. They're happy. They're comfortable. They know and understand their portfolio is going to shift and ebb and flow in size, and they're going to collect income from it, and they're going to be retired on this nest egg predictably. Once you get to that stage of predictability, I don't think you have to be retired to achieve that. I think that if you have automated in the correct areas sufficiently, you don't have to worry about it every day. You don't have to stop cutting the grass to go balance the budget. It's no, directionally, this one inefficient spending decision is not breaking my current path because I know I've got the right stuff happening on the other side.
That makes sense. One thing compounds the next, and if it's all set up and you're already pre-planning this out, it should just be a well-oiled machine. It seems like
it absolutely is, and people are just forever shocked that the small sacrifice they make on their weekly paycheck or twice monthly or whatever it is, the 5%, the 10%, whatever it is that they put into their retirement or put away, that they put into their future first. Then they look at it 10 years later and they're like, where did I get $400,000 from? How did that happen? Good investments and automation to where now you're living on 95% of your income instead of 100. Is that such a big ask? No. But if you have no nest egg on the other end of this rainbow and you have to retire physically or just mentally you can't work, whatever it is, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube with that. It's too little too late if you have not done something constructive throughout.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I think a lot of people will probably think about Social Security and where that's the end all see all, or say you work for a company that has a pension, and that's kind of what people, this is just outsider looking at, I don't really know, but so I can see where that might be your fallback, where I paid in all these years, man, I want to retire at 65 or what is it now? Well, they just raised it to
67 is full retirement age. Yeah.
What's crazy to me, and I want to circle back to that, but if you look at our life expectancy, it's dang, for a male, I think it's 78. So it's I don't know, kind of crazy, but I think a lot of us, I could put myself in that category. I don't really necessarily think it, but that's your fallback. Well, I'll just get Social Security and I'll live, But then you look at what you get and you're like, it's not really enough to survive. So,
and if it is today, I mean, name anything that you consume that costs the same as it did 5 years ago. Name anything.
Dude, it's insane, man.
I mean, gasoline maybe is the one moving target that from one date to another, maybe it costs, whatever, maybe gas, but any consumable, any subscription fee, any replacement part, there's nothing.
Dude, it's crazy. I was just at Home Depot the other day and I went to get a couple brass fittings for a water. I'm like, a brass nipple is 3 inches long in a 90 was $14.98. I'm like, dang. It's just crazy.
It's crazy.
You don't think about it, and then looking at what you're making, you're like, well, I have to, I got to kind of, everything has to work. It's kind of crazy, but then you look at I don't know, I'm going off on that, but
no, it's insane.
It's just weird.
When you adjust for inflation against any of this, and Social Security does adjust for inflation, which is great, but Social Security is not some robust, fully funded, healthy program either. So for us to just at mid 30 somethings here blindly assume that we're going to get a livable wage from Social Security alone, I think is a bad bet.
Yeah, I agree.
Complement that assumption. And if that assumption's dead wrong, great, here's your nest egg that you can fall back on. But back to your point, think about this. So we start paying FICA tax at what? You grew up in Ocean City, I don't know, 16 years old. If you take a job on the boardwalk or whatever it was, you're paying FICA tax from the word go all the way to 60 something. And then you live on it for 13 years, 12 years, 8 years, 6 years. Like, you're not getting back what you put in. You're certainly not getting, no, it's not even close to mathing. And you're not getting any compounding growth value from that. So it's interesting you bring up pensions too. A pension program, there's more and more and more and more corporate pensions. So the governmental pensions, I think, are a completely different discussion. Those seem significantly healthier. But the corporate pension trend has been to freeze and then to close over a period of time, where they increase what they put into your 401k program, which is, of course, employee directed. They can pick those investments, but to kick out this big basket of money going into a employer directed pension investment. So when you have that freedom, more and more and more money is being shifted to the actual employee control instead of the employer or the corporation dictating how those funds are deployed. There are several things that change. The employee is typically taking more risk and enjoying more reward for that investment over time, typically. Separately from that, it's a huge offense when someone gets a letter that says your pension is being closed, because they're like, that's my entire retirement, that's my livelihood that I'm banking on, and now they're not going to fund it anymore. It's like, what is that? To me, the same is true of a pension and Social Security. If you're given the freedom to direct those investments yourself earlier, and you have good help and you're thoughtful in your approach, I don't think it's a daily job of day trading to make this thing grow. I think it's, again, if deployed, diversified, and automated correctly, you're going to get good benefit from that over time. And the issue with Social Security, we have this compounding growth option in a 401k or inside of a separate investment. Not only does Social Security not compound just by nature, by definition, but there's nothing in it that is invested to grow. It's a pay-as-we-go system in which you and I pay FICA tax, and a 67-year-old claimant is paid that dollar. Mm-hmm. The dollar that they put in was paid out a generation ago to whoever needed that income then. Yeah, I mean, it is a very challenging thing to understand how Social Security would be our entire income in retirement, but a third of current retirees live on Social Security only. So to me, it's like, where does that break? Hopefully by us taking control of this earlier and giving ourselves more options and autonomy and freedom later.
Mm-hmm. The only way I can see somebody living off of Social Security is if they have a house that they paid off, that they remodeled right before they retired, and they have all new appliances, and they have a new car that's paid off. Because if any little thing comes up and you don't have an extra little bit, or you're not working a side hustle, you're gonna be struggling. I think that most of the time it's only like $1,300 or $1,800 a month. It's under $2,000 for most people, I think.
I've seen Social Security checks that people live on successfully at $1,300 or less, and again, it comes down to, are you living on what is coming in, mm-hmm. and are you budgeting around what you actually bring into your household or not? And to me, it's like the check size is somewhat secondary. If it's $1,000 or if it's $5,000, can you live on it? I think largely, if you have a $5,000 Social Security check, you earned a bunch of money, and you probably can't live on $5,000.
Right.
If you have a $1,000 Social Security check, you didn't earn as much money, but how does anybody live on a check that is not compounding at all? When we talk about, you use appliances as the example, that's such a good one. I feel like there's such planned obsolescence on any kind of an appliance that you're buying right now. The 1980s washing machine or the fridge that's just an absolute unit in your garage is going to run forever. And the thing you bought for like $800 a year and a half ago is just like a year away from needing a new heating element that cost 80% of what the product did new. So like, to me, I'm just so like vexed. You have to complement that, in my opinion, in my experience, by managing bad debt, by building something that is growing and compounding, and by depending not on any one retirement promise. Pension plans that promise a check are very likely going to pay a check. I'm not sitting here to cast doubt on that. Instead, I am saying the more freedom we take early, mm-hmm. the better. If I could opt out totally from Social Security, I would have done it 10 years ago. Yeah. Save that money myself. I have the discipline, in my opinion, to automate that, to shift that FICA tax payment into something that is growing at every bit the rate that Social Security's promise is growing. Mm-hmm. I have confidence in that. Not everybody would have the discipline. That's where it becomes, I think, an accountability discussion, and one of like, people do depend on Social Security, and I hope it is there. But I would opt out.
Yeah. Well, I thought about this morning when I was thinking about Social Security, because I'm like, well, if we could, that'd be awesome, but they will never let us because we're funding the next like we're funding the people that are on it right now.
Yep.
So the money that's coming in is being generated. There's not a big bank account of money that's been put in there, and they didn't invest it. Like, can you imagine if they took that money and invested it?
The system was never meant for the middle class retiree to live comfortably on. It was designed for the destitute to have an income. And it's like, I don't think welfare is the conversation that we're having, but I think by design, it was intended to protect the destitute, is what Social Security was written into the original law. This is the phrasing that it was used. It was formal. As it has morphed, we have things that are somewhat sick on the opposite end. So Jeff Bezos, I believe, with his income, pays his Social Security FICA tax for the year in like the first hour and a half of the new year, because his income is so ridiculous that it's just instantly completely paid up, because it caps out at like $175,000. But what's crazy is, like 15 years ago, that cap was $75,000. So if you've got a $200,000 wage earner, they're now paying 2.5 times into Social Security what they would have paid in how many decades ago, and their promise to pay they're getting back from Social Security did not increase by 2.5 times. So it's creating this sort of like, who's paying what's the heavy lift to keep it solvent, and then who takes out what long term. 2 years ago, 2.5 I guess now, the inflation adjustment on Social Security was like 9%. It was like 7 points. I don't know. It was huge because inflation had spiked so high. And now what happened was everybody's check went up. We had several adjustments since. Every single person in their mid-60s or later right now has at least a 10% increase on their Social Security check from what they had even pre-pandemic, or even more recently than that. So it's like these checks are increasing. They got to fuel that somehow. And you're looking at the answer. The younger generation has to pay more. But we are the generation, if you want to call us that, maybe we're a shade older than, but like the current generation of people paying from a first-time job or whatever, mid-career, what about their student debt? Now what if they have a 7% mortgage? What if their utilities, not utilities, bad example, but what if their appliances are going up every 3 years because that's just the way products are built and sold now? It's like, it is more difficult to make up for lost ground. And again, I'm back to the same theme. You automate early, you build in this stuff, and it's not so much like, are you disciplined? It's like, just set it and forget it and let it cook.
Makes total sense. Now, if somebody like Jeff Bezos only puts in, that's still a ton of money. I'm not going to discount that. And I look at how hard he worked, and, I'm on the side of like, well, I kind of, he earned it, he can have it, whatever.
Totally agree.
But when he retires, I'm assuming that he'll still get paid out, but like, he's not going to get paid out he's only going to get paid out based on what he put in.
Yeah,
and
he might get $5,000 a month by the time it's all said and done.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, he's not only going to put in a certain amount, make all this money, and then they're going to just drain the Social Security to pay him. There's got to be some sort of middle ground there.
There is a cap. There is a cap that's built in. It's a fluid number that adjusts each year based on that maximum that you can pay in. There's a formula of what you can receive out, but.
Yeah, I was just making sure that, or not making sure, but I was just genuinely curious about how that would work.
Yeah, he's not going to get $800,000 a year from Social Security, but
extreme example.
It is an extreme example, but it's more and more common, and like the sort of like livable wage, and when you assess sort of like cost of living, even just use like the residents as the example against the average income, it's like it's such a sizable increase proportionally of what it used to be. And like, I have all the respect in the world when I hear a client describe that they had an 18% interest mortgage, in the 1980s and 1970s, whatever it was. It's like, that's insane to me. That's a crazy, very offensive number, but they paid it and they made it work. But the cost of the house against their current income, the average wage of that time, was significantly lower, such that you put on that mortgage burden on top, that interest burden, it's still a manageable payment, so to speak. Not trying to take anything away from somebody that paid an 18% mortgage. That would have gutted me. I would have been up at night, sleepless, worrying about that. That being said, the person that incurs a 6% mortgage today on a home that costs relative against their average wage, like double or triple even what they're earning in a year, that's the blend. That's that ratio. there was a Boy Meets World episode about this where Corey and Topanga were trying to buy a house in Philadelphia, and she's like, all you need is like $40,000. And then he did the math, and it's like, well, the average wage was like 25 at the time. The average wage is not $300,000 right now, but the houses around here cost $6.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's where it really becomes a challenge. The mortgage thing is its own separate topic and own conversation, but again, the livable wage, it's like it becomes a rat race. It becomes put your head down and keep earning just to stay afloat. Even in the absence of student debt, that can be true. You throw on student debt, you throw on what it costs to have kids and like feed kids, go out to eat, and it's like a $15 kids meal or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like that stuff is kind of shocking, especially at first. To me, it is much harder at like 45 to go back and be like, I'm going to put 5% into my 401k than it is at 22. You get hired. You know what? I'm going to put 10% in this thing and never think about it again. The earlier, the better.
Yeah. Well, I can see that. And a couple of things. I definitely get it. I think lots of different things. One of the questions that I was sitting here thinking about the whole time, and I was listening to everything you said, but I wanted to ask, your 401k, when you're talking about like working for a corporation, can you take that? I guess maybe it depends on how it's invested with them, but is that something you deal with? Like if I say I had a 401k and I'm like, I don't really know where it's at, but I'll find it, and then I can let somebody else handle that, or how does that work?
Yeah, we talk about this all day. It most often, both from a organizational perspective and from the idea of making sure that your investments are correctly allocated, having splintered fractional pieces of your retirement in 5 different locations is not the preference of many. Most people prefer to consolidate it down, to put it into 1 or 2 account types as opposed to like 5. And then to have that money compounding together in a single sort of lump, as opposed to this one's over here, that one's over there, this one did this one did that. The answer is yes. That's probably the bread and butter of our business.
Okay. Helping
people consolidate and correctly allocate and manage those investments over time such that they can draw an income that's sustainable. I have clients all the time that call and they say, I want to bounce my last check. I accumulated for decades. Now I want to decumulate. I've never seen anybody bounce their last check. I hope to, because that would be hilarious and awesome and everybody would be happy with that outcome, so to speak. But man, that's tough. I think the people that are actively bought in, where is that? Did I put that in the right spot? Is that correctly naming my spouse or correct family member as the beneficiary? It's like once you go through those steps, people do create an ownership mentality, I think, over these funds where they're unlikely to deplete them fully in retirement by choice. You live within your means long enough, you don't stop living within your means and retire. I see that. I don't want to say I call people's bluff, but I always am skeptical when someone says they want to spend it all. I don't often see anybody truly pursue that outcome, and nor do I necessarily want to. People fly too close to the sun. Eventually it gets hot, But your point, I mean, the answer is yes. And there's different types of retirement plans, of course, as well, where you're self-employed, you don't have a 401k. If you're a realtor, you may be in like a SEP IRA that's somewhat sort of nuanced and specific. Whereas if you're a big corporate employee, maybe you have not only a 401k, but maybe a deferred compensation or a 457 that complements it. There's just so many different types, but it is typically able to be consolidated, whether it's because of a job change or retirement. The answer is yes. Very few people leave their funds at the ex-employer or past employer and just live on those checks. That becomes somewhat inefficient over time for a series of different reasons. And I'd say that's kind of our core sort of like value, that the person that picks up the phone and calls us, that's typically one of the first questions they're asking.
Gotcha. Yeah, when I think about it, like it's so overwhelming to think about the most efficient way to like save or plan. And then I'm a logical person would probably go on Google and just type in like how to plan for my future. I don't know if the first thing to pop up is be financial planner, but it seems like everyone needs somebody like you to at least consult with and make sure that you're doing things either efficiently or taking advantage of some tax advantages. It's just kind of crazy. Everything's coming in full light. But one of the things I wanted to say was, you were talking about the appliances, and I brought that up originally. Like, what is it with these things? I don't understand why a water heater doesn't last longer than 3 freaking years, dude.
It's planned. It's the
It's
same reason
crazy.
that the tire that will never go flat and the patent for that technology was bought by a major tire corporation and never saw the light of day. I mean, this is how this. I don't know. I have this sort of like bleak optimism almost in that I'm invested in these companies. So if they're more profitable by the fact that they have built obsolescence into what they manufacture and it does not screw over their brand recognition and like become this sort of like, no, all they sell is lemons kind of thing. Well, everyone's just selling lemons at this point. I mean, it seems like, and I know there's some markets that are different. There's some different things that you can buy that, of course, hold up much, much longer. But if appliances are the example, it's like, yeah, I buy something new. If I get 5, 7 years out of that, I'm like clicking my heels on the way to buy a new one and replace it.
It doesn't make any sense,
It's
man.
crazy.
I just replaced a water heater for this is the third water heater, and our house is only 8 years old or 9 years old. Third water heater.
It's
And I'm
crazy.
like, it doesn't make any sense. But then I go back to this where I think to myself all the time, thank God I'm handy, because dude, can you imagine having to call a plumber and what that cost? I, if I were a normal person, like say, well, I mean, I definitely would have to have a little bit different lifestyle, honestly, if I couldn't fix a ton of stuff myself.
Yep.
I think about that all the time where like I'm fixing my truck, gaskets, tires, or whatever. I'm constantly doing something myself, and I'm thinking to myself all the time, I don't know how many dudes are out there that can or can't do it, but I'm so thankful I'm one of them that can. Because if I couldn't, I couldn't survive.
No. To me, it's like a game theory dilemma where you are giving and taking. Like there is a reconciliation of this somewhere. If you aren't handy enough to replace it yourself and to fix it yourself, and you have to replace everything that ever doesn't run perfectly, you better earn a bunch.
That's
Like,
what I
you
say all
better
the
be
time.
good at something.
That's
you
what
know.
I say all the time.
Yep.
And it
And
goes back to this homesteading thing where I think about like gardening and it's like I know it sounds woo woo, but like that's where we started at was like this whole thing where I feel like when you could hunt, fish, garden, you were spending less, so your working wage went further, and you weren't eating out all the time. And I see just a lot. I don't eat out. I actually cook a lot of meals at home, but I just look at the society and as a whole, and I say to myself, man, it's a lot of extra, and you have to work harder for that stuff.
Yep.
Like you have to work harder. I don't know. I keep saying it, but
you can't spend it twice. So it comes down to a thing where like you either take enough pride in, or there's a practical need, or otherwise to go and self-source, self-sustain, and be able to build, repair, grow, whatever, slaughter, I don't know, whatever the example is, or you better have a high tide lifting your boat of income. Like there needs to be some reconciliation of that because it can't be both. If you have a $40,000 wage and you're door dashing twice a week, I hope your rent is like $500. But again, it's like, that's a huge missed opportunity of entering the housing market. If you're going to talk long game about healthy finances, the primary home, I mean, that residence, that investment is so fundamental and key. That's like the cornerstone, in my opinion, to a healthy long game financially. So maybe you get by and you can DoorDash more because you rented at a very low price for all these years. But like, what happens when the rent goes up?
right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What if the
Or
property sells?
Yeah, I was
and
gonna
there's a
say
new
what happens
landlord?
if it sells. Yeah.
I know.
I think about this where I see like a lot of, and maybe people just have a ton of extra, and it makes total sense, and that's okay. But like I just look at this is my tiny little brain, where I look at like an RV sitting in somebody's yard, but yet they're working to like have the RV, and I'm like, man, I almost feel like it's this curtain in front of us that we're being, and I'm all about recreation and having fun and things, and you can look at stuff I have. I like fun stuff, but I just look at other stuff like that. I couldn't own an RV, but it's like you have to work hard, or like the guy that has the boat in his yard that's working his ass off and can only go out on the weekends. You can't like,
Yep.
It's kind of crazy, man.
It's tough.
Not to try to break it down, but talking about money and stuff, it's one of those
It's
things
tough.
that I think about. I think about if I couldn't do a lot of the stuff myself, I wouldn't be able to do any of the things, the hobbies that I have. And I guess that's what me personally, it's my only saving grace is that's what I like to do. But I just look at all that stuff and I think to myself, like eating out and all the extreme spending and wastefulness. I do see where that could quickly add up in a this smart hands such as yours to where you could help direct it to where it could make money.
Yep. And I mean, we're so pampered. I think that it's so directly advantageous for these corporations to establish that comfort is like the supreme feeling. Like we must be comfortable. We must always be comfortable.
I'm so happy you brought this up.
I don't know what temperature it is in your house, but it costs more than if it was a couple degrees less comfortable. It's like, you know what I'm saying? If you
Yeah.
just go and apply that logic anywhere, to me, it is only able to be accomplished if you are giving something up, whether that's more hours at work or you take a career path that's less, to your heart than one that would be a lower earner career path. You have to go and sell yourself, so to speak, to go and keep up that lifestyle. I mean, I really, really struggle with that. And then what's worse is if that is the arrangement and on and on and on you go, work, 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 take the boat out on every third Saturday, die. Money needs to both, I think, be less significant to us and also more significant to us in that it can be less significant once we have it set up correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it is going to be a ball and chain. It is going to be the reason that whatever 1 in 4 divorces occur. Or, it's like there's like a health standard to this. And this is total pipe dream, but like you were talking last episode about you're not getting your sick days paid back to you at many employers for days that unused.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Nor are you getting like financial counsel from your employer very frequently. I don't know very many. There are certainly exceptions to that and great employers that are really proactive and engaged with their people. But to me, it's like, if we have sort of the standard of health and like you've got to have health insurance, it's required essentially. Is there no obligation or requirement ever, not in school, not in early adulthood, nothing about money? Like it's missing somewhere. I don't know where it is meant to be installed. There's great junior achievement's amazing. There's schools that are teaching it. There's parents that are teaching it. It's fantastic.
I love that.
But it's not enough, in my opinion. It like again, like anything, behavioral, otherwise, authority itself, like it has to be taught in the household if it's going to really build and end up becoming like a momentous sort of directional change. But that's a ridiculous. And here I am looking at the employer, like maybe the employer can plug that hole because like who else is there at that point? But that's a ridiculous point that I made. It's like there's so much information out there. Mm-hmm. There's so many resources. This is one of the reasons we don't charge for a consultation meeting. Like I think you can call that inefficient from a business perspective or whatever, but like forget that. The barrier to entry in the discussion of finance, one that is uncomfortable anyway, one that even just if you have like a husband and wife or a spouse, whatever, one of those two might really not want to be there, but all it takes is broaching that subject once. If you open that conversation once, I think there can be progress accomplished very quickly. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's like, it does not have to be just that we're captive to our financial situation. Instead, to me, it's like, how quickly can we no longer be captive to it?
Yeah. Well, two things I want to make a point to. The marriage thing, I hope to come back to, but also I think it's designed for us to be broke all the time. Like, I think it's, like you said earlier, we're a consumerist society where we want to be buying the next thing because there's some engineer behind a desk making it better and better each year. We want a new one every year. Yep. The technology's better, it's faster, it's blah, blah, blah. And we're just these little consumers just getting these ads every day where we're doom scrolling. And, I see it from all angles, man. And I'm a victim too. I'm not the worst one, but I'm the layers are coming back. The curtains I talk about all the time, they're pulling back. I'm getting to the end of the Rolodex. So I'm becoming a better human by the day. But to the point about you said the marriage thing, I don't want to forget. Do you see like a weight lifted off when people come in and talk about it, and then as it gets better, their marriage can help get better?
I think it's probably giving the financial planner too much credit to say yes.
Okay.
That being said, I think there are clear, avoidable obstacles that occur very often that absolutely become a splinter in a relationship. I think that bad debt is absolutely one of them. Credit card debt is just a joke. To me, there was some suggestion that credit card debt be capped, that it can't go above 10%. I can't imagine that'll ever happen. But back to the fact, I mean, it's like if I have seen it where like one member of the marriage is aware that they have a $20,000 outstanding credit card bill that the other is unaware of. I don't know what that can lead to that is healthy. To me, the more that we demystify and encourage transparency and honesty in this conversation, the better. A vulnerable moment for many is at the point of an inheritance. You see somebody, they lose a parent, they inherit a chunk of money, whatever size, and this one is just fascinating. And I feel like it comes to the marriage point and that relationship. The child of the deceased is often, I think, recharacterizing or discriminating those dollars, that those are mom's, whereas the spouse, the son-in-law or whatever it is, well, that's ours. And they're both right by like every standard I can imagine. And here again, like where my role I think comes in there is to both reiterate and encourage the stewardship topic. Like this, you going to Vegas with this money is probably not something that your parent would have considered a correct use or a wholesome outcome or whatever. Like, let's try to celebrate what they gave up to have accomplished this inheritance, and the shame and the downside of the fact that it was not like the ski trip with your whole family 10 years ago that the deceased person could have enjoyed with you, those making those memories. But can we, by some way, extend that and create something that would be celebrated? Like, but at the same time, the outlaw, the son-in-law, whatever you want to call that, this person, like they're right too. These funds are now legally a marital asset. They can use it however they might. I mean, to me, most often a liquidity event like that, I'm looking at debt. But that's not a savory outcome. Your mom worked her whole life, and then here you are putting the money against some bad debt that you incurred when you bought a jet ski or some subscription burrito you paid 5 payments on or whatever. It's like, that's tough.
It's scary. I don't even want to think about inheritance. I think I don't know. It just seems like in that example, like I don't know. I don't equate it anything, but it just seems crazy to me that anybody would think that money is theirs, even though they're just by marriage.
By and large, I see it that people are very gun shy and hands off, and that the grief is by far the theme of the inheritance. But I do see the opposite, and to me, it's like it's not for me to say right, wrong, or indifferent. But I agree with your point. My presumption would be that it would be an uncomfortable experience to inherit money from a family member that you loved, and that therefore celebrating in any fashion. And the way that I take the most joy in seeing it is they took the grandkids to Disney World because the great grandparent, left this money. And that's cool. I think that's great. Yeah. Especially if that's a trip that could not have been done otherwise, or whether it's a cabin where they all just live together for a week and play Scrabble or whatever. Like, that's awesome. Take pictures of it, make a scrapbook, and like honor this family member in that way. I don't know. That's what I try to encourage. But again, it's not my money that I'm talking about. It's right. Like I'm just sitting here to play devil's advocate, throw out the pros and cons, and hopefully not see somebody jump on a plane and go to Vegas and whatever with this inherited money. I think that it is on the Eastern Shore very unlikely that I would ever encounter that. Instead, it is, I think, the former. It's like, how do I handle this? That's not mine. What do you spend it on if it's not yours?
Yeah, that's inspiring, though. I would think I'm actually surprised that your outlook was to say let the memory live and go do the crazy experience, not crazy, but the Disney thing, where I would have thought you would have been like, well, let's keep investing it, build on it, and then continue that trend.
Multi-generational wealth is a beautiful thing, and if that was the objective and that the whole family has subscribed to this ideology, that's great, but we spend it or die with it. And if the first generation did not spend it and did die with it, I'm not suggesting that it be frivolously wasted, but I think there's a balance that can be accomplished, because the worst case scenario in my mind is you rinse and repeat that scenario 5 generations long, and there's never any consumption of all this hard work. It's like, that's...
Makes sense.
It breaks. For me, logically, it breaks. And it's only money. To me, it can be a very important sort of cornerstone of an adult life that's healthy, but also be only money. And it should not be on your mind all day, every day. It should be that you're enjoying your time on the lawnmower, not thinking about your finances. But you can only get there, in my experience at least, you should only get there once you have checked the correct boxes and really set that thing up to hum.
Makes total sense. So one of the things that I wanted to, we touched on inheritance, and it's just a touchy, scary topic. And one of the things that I think about is, like, should people be talking about it or pre-planning it before it happens, or say that they don't even think that there's going to be one? Should somebody ask or figure it out before, or should the whoever would leave the inheritance make it clear that there's going to be one?
Yeah, so there's a legal term for that person. It's called the grantor. I don't need to get legal or technical with it, but you're describing the person that has saved more than they will consume. Now there's a predictable outcome in which they would leave something behind to someone by name. Whether that's a beneficiary or if that's going to go through an estate or whatever is kind of secondary. To me, it's like a pretty simple function catch-all word, inheritance. The amount of arguing and strife within families when this has never been spoken of, and that there is this like entitlement mindset across several of the beneficiaries, several of the family members, whoever, like, man, I hate that stuff. It's like, to me, the sooner it is communicated clearly and that grantor, the original first family member, bites that bullet of confidence and organization and to have the last word in that discussion, which is of course theirs to have. This is their money that they saved and earned. That person, I think, stepping up to the plate, getting their act together, and then coordinating this in a way that is both legally formal as well as communicated in a way that is clear to the family members. Mm-hmm. That's when you don't get this like, what do you mean she got 25% and I got 23%? Like, you know what I'm saying? And you hear that stuff happens, man.
It's scary, man. And I think about it because you see families getting torn over over it, or straight up families will like separate.
I know,
brothers and sisters won't talk to each other, and I don't understand it. To me, it seems silly. It's just I know money. It would be great, but at the same time, it's just money. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to sound ignorant or anything, but like if you think about it, it's like I'd rather have, I don't know, human interaction versus or love and experiences with somebody like my brother or sister versus let some little minuscule amount of money or a big amount. It doesn't matter. But
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It should not matter.
But that's on the pre-planning side of things. I've always been curious about that.
Yeah.
So you're saying that they should come out and just say, hey, let's just have a discussion, or is this like do you go to a lawyer's office or something? Or okay.
I mean, there's so many points here. The first and most important is like, I mean, I have like something of a black and white outlook on this, but there are many, many situations in which the family cannot have this conversation openly. So like, by no means is this going to apply across the board. Mm-hmm. That being said, if it was all things perfect, all things equal, the mother who's 85 years old, who has exactly what she needs financially and then some, I think communicating to that family and saying, okay, my 3 children, my 5 children, my 8 children, whatever, my 1 child, I am naming your kids for a fractional amount of whatever I'm going to leave, because I think that they should have a little bit of income at the time that I do pass. If they're a minor, it's suspended in some way until they reach adulthood or a stated age that I choose. In the meantime, here's this, let's say, property that I'm leaving. I want to leave the property to 3 people collectively, and the taxes on that property be paid with this sum of money. Like, all of that can be accomplished legally. My issue that I see the most often, and my sort of like biggest frustration in this, is there is a lack of clarity, a lack of communication, to the point where it's like one kid has this idea that the farm is theirs, that the house is theirs, whatever. And then the other 2 are like, sure, you can have it, just cut us a check for our third. And then that person has no third. They inherited only the property and they saved no money of their own. And then it's like a charity type arrangement in the minds of the 2 that did not get the house, because here they are letting the third live in the house. It's like, what? It's wild. Whereas if the grantor, the original family member, is to communicate clearly, this is what is going to occur, this is how it's going to occur, you are all aware of it, sit them down in one room and have the conversation. But people don't want to talk about dying no more than they want to talk about what they have in their bank account. They especially don't want to talk about both.
Yeah.
Especially, too, all the more compounding that complexity with the fact that these are family members who have had arguments about like meatloaf or whatever over the years. So now suddenly we're in this really vulnerable, like high impact conversation of a potential inheritance. And it's like, I think that is wildly intimidating. And to your point about an attorney, I think it needs to be formalized to a point where it's like, maybe the attorney is the one communicating it. Mm-hmm. I don't care. As long as it's not a shock that someone is either like not remembered in the way that they expected to be, or not remembered at all in some blindside fashion, or that they're intertwined with siblings they don't get along with or whatever, or worse than maybe all of this, that you've just left 400 grand to a 13-year-old with no guardrails of any kind, no stipulation, and then the ex son-in-law father of the kid is the one now making the decisions about what color Ferrari he drives the kid to school in, because that falls under the definition of like spending it for the kid's well-being and like transportation needs. You see what I'm?
Yeah.
It gets so gray and blurry. Talk to the attorney and get that stuff straight early, such that there's not all this nebulous gray area that can just instantly cause strife.
Yeah. I've always been curious about that.
Makes my blood pressure go up. Like it's avoidable is why.
Yeah.
I to me, it's like if all it takes is having a really unpleasant conversation once to avoid a complete splintering of a family unit, well, let's freaking do it. Like sit down, have the conversation, and just be done.
Yeah.
And again, you can beep at me. Like, of course, here I am with like a robotic approach to this discussion because it's hard.
Yeah, but also you're the expert in this matter. You know, like I'm just asking questions because I'm genuinely curious, but I love the enthusiasm that you have, and you know, you're showing the emotion that somebody would have if that's what they do for, you know, like you're the expert.
All it takes is seeing the worst scenario once, and it's like, I mean, I've been pounding the table for like 2 years now. Like every client that I talk to, the topic that I really want to get into early is, do you have a financial power of attorney that you trust, that if in the event you are in a coma or incapacitated or whatever, all your bills are not bouncing? You know, is there someone that can step in, anyone? Or is it to the court's decision as to who then is paying your utility bill? The Terry Schiavo case, whatever that was 25, 30 years ago, it was like George W. Bush that ended up deciding whether or not she be left on life support or something. It was insane. It like went through like 15 separate appeals all the way up the ladder. And it's like, what? All for lack of clarity. Had there been a document that said, I entrust my spouse, which is what most people's document would say, not everyone, but shoot, I mean, like name someone that you care about, someone that trusts, someone that cares about you and that you trust, and then you don't have to sit there and leave that to chance, because that punishes absolutely everybody. And what's the legal fee against that worst case outcome? It's a pittance. It's laughable, frankly. It's so worthwhile. It's such a huge investment into the peace and the harmony of the family in the event that they should be mourning, and now here they are bickering or confused or like, man, oh man. Yeah, those legal documents are fundamental.
I just launched an episode today, and we talked about how, and I think I brought it up, where we live like we're going to get more than one go around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that kind of encompasses this too, where we think we're going to be able to earn more money, or we're going to be able to save it at some point. And it's like, I forget to start living, and not like YOLO ignorantly, but like I forget that, you know, heck, I'm halfway through. If we're looking at the timeline, you know, I forget. I just look at myself and I feel like a younger man. So it's like, I can see it from all angles. It's not something that we think about, but it's something that we should think about.
Yep.
And then it's like, when somebody is talking about it, it's like, it has to resonate, you know. Like I'm guilty of letting a lot of things just kind of go in and out the other ear, and not really putting into action. And I don't know if that's an age thing or what it is, you know, but it's like, you can only hear it if you're listening for it.
And I think a lot of that has to do with who is telling you the thing that you are hearing. I don't know. My dad hopefully will listen to this one day and laugh at what I'm about to say, but like, if I'm on the golf course with my father and he has a critique about my swing, I am 1 out of 10 receptive to that criticism. Like maybe on a good day. If I'm on the golf course with a friend, with a colleague, a client, I don't know, whoever, and you're like, dude, your grip looks a little weird. What if you turn that finger over a little bit? Or like, a little stronger grip might do the trick. Next shot, I'm trying that all day. Like, I'm hitting terrible shots. Of course I'm going to try it. But if it came from my dad, I love my father. You know what I'm saying? It's like, there's something about the way we take information in certain settings, or if we're a little defensive, or if it's coming from someone that like we feel is like prone or quick to jump with criticism or like a lecture type approach. Like instantly, I think the guardrails go up and we're less receptive. And again, I think that like the value that I observe in the client meeting is to be able to sort of like softly challenge and to be considered as someone that is knocking on the door of status quo. Like, is this something available for discussion, or is this off limits for discussion totally? Just tell me the answer.
Yeah.
If it's off limits, I'll chill. Like,
Well, it's interesting because I feel like you're just here to educate and help. But like my personality, say if I went in there as a client, I'm on guard because I just think, and this is just me talking out my butt. I don't know. I'm on guard because I'm thinking you're trying to sell me something.
Yeah.
So for me to sit here and have this education with you, it's eye opening. And like I said, if I were in your office in the client seat, I might be a little bit more on guard, to
I'm sure
not opening my mind to the things that you're saying. So I can see it from all the angles, whether or not it's your dad telling you or whatever, but
Yep.
especially when you feel guilt or shame, or you should be further along, or you should be doing this sooner, or should have been, whatever. I can see where that can be a disconnect,
Yep. People are on guard all the time. And say what you want about TikTok. What I find really, really curious about this is, and I don't even use TikTok. It's like the one social media app I've like never had. People come in with ideas they got from TikTok. Like, this is what I learned or was told or whatever, can you speak to that? Which I love that, because 9 times out of 10, if someone's on TikTok, they're probably not licensed. They're probably not credentialed. They might be right about what they're saying, but like, man, sanity check that against someone that can answer confidently, that knows, has seen, or whatever, because there's like, all of a sudden we have these new ideas, these creative new sort of, suggestions or whatever that I think are always healthy to discuss. Cause it's like, what's the one constant is change. We have to be willing and receptive to change. And I think there's a lot I could talk about on the topic of the posture of someone that does come into a meeting. Because it is, if you're on guard and you're like not trusting of what you're hearing, that's going to be a tough thing to break through for anyone. It's going to take a lot of the hour-long meeting talking about like why you can trust the person that you're sitting with. A lot of that can be done ahead of time, frankly, with the credentials and the accreditations and the requirements of a fiduciary advisor versus the requirements of a non-fiduciary advisor. Or if you look at the CFP, a governing body that has a client best interest standard requirement. Like, I would lose my CFP if I gave completely bad advice or self-interested advice to a client. If I was just spinning commissionable investments so I could buy a new car or whatever, you know what I'm saying? I would lose my license.
I understand.
And that's not something that many people know walking in. And used to be the stockbroker age. You've seen Wolf of Wall Street, I assume. It's
I was going to say, can you blame the...
I have the best investment, John, that you have ever seen. It's like, that is the world that we came from. I am so fortunate that I came into the industry after the DOL fiduciary rule, in that it was then the client best interest standard that was required of all fiduciary advisors. And to me, that is like paramount and fundamental, and the accountability required by these governing bodies like the CFP board require that every advisor that has that designation is constantly bringing the client first mentality. You may not know that coming in. You may not care even once you're told that. But the fact is, if the advisor is credentialed in the right ways, they have no choice. And that's exactly how it should be.
That's how it should be. And that's, just hearing you say that and all the conviction that you have, obviously it's not, you're not trying to sway me or sell me. You're confident because you know for a fact that that's the governing bodies that you have to abide by. So I love that. And I'm pumped that you said it for me to hear too. But a lot of times it's that Bernie Madoff. It's the,
no doubt.
You know what I mean? It's like all these things that have been all these big scams, and it comes out and it's like, well, now we're left with nothing, you know? So I can see the apprehension. Me on the ignorant side, it's just, I don't think about pre-planning in this capacity. Yeah. So, but at the same time, I don't think about it because you hear the Bernie Madoffs and the things, and I'm like, well, I'd just rather take my chances with my own hands.
Sure.
But then you also say, like with these private equity companies, and it's not that this is, but they are bound to turn profits for shareholders, and it leaves the consumer out, so I'm just all angles,
right? No, for sure.
I'm glad that you said that because I didn't know that.
Yep. A lot of people don't, and there are, I think, a lot of gray areas to this conversation. To me, it is both the competencies that are required to get through the CFP curriculum and through the test, as well as the ongoing oversight that here we are, there is a governing body where one complaint would compromise our license. That to me is the accountability level that should be required. Even if you're dealing with someone who's a total scumbag that's just like out to make a dollar, they're going to have a hard time screwing you over under the CFP requirements. Is just the simple truth of it. And that's why when we hire a new advisor, it's like, how quick can excuse me, can we get you through the CFP curriculum and get you that credential? I mean, to me, it's a beautiful sort of reinforcement of the fact that here we are, our firm's like 40 years old. You know, we're built on word of mouth. We're built on trust. If we screw somebody over, how much faster does bad news travel than good news? Like, we're always going to be accountable to that. I think most businesses on the Eastern Shore are going to, I think, experience that similarly, especially food service. I mean, like, people are, I think, bound by that anyway. To have this as a second level of accountability and obligation to the client first mentality, I think that that is so correctly structured, and that had I entered the industry 5 years prior, 10 years prior, whatever, than I did, maybe it would have been that I was not as quick to adopt the CFP mentality. And to me, I'm just so thrilled that I came out of college and into the field at that same moment that the DOL ruling was changing, because that was post Madoff, that was post '08. You know, there was a lot of stuff that happened that needed to be adjusted. I'm no like, you know, regulations are the worst. I hate overregulation, but there have been some beautiful ones I think installed, and that many are sort of accountable by outside agencies, not just these huge governmental bodies. That's what makes our field right now, I think, such a value add and client first experience that I buy into. I love it. I find a lot of fulfillment from being able to bring the client mentality and say, look, we can do this together. There is a cost to it. This is a cost that would, in my opinion, be justified, but that's for you to decide, and they do. And to me, that is the seed for a multi-generational, really healthy relationship in which we are able to help at the point of inheritance. We're able to reinforce, no, child number 3, this is what your mom said to me for the last 15 years. It's not open for discussion. Like, it's not going to be that you pay the taxes for your brother's farm. The brother's going to pay the taxes for the brother's farm. Here's the dollar that you were being let, all of that comes back into the same situation. Is very, very gratifying in my seat to be able to see that and to build that trust over time with clients.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that you said that, because I had no idea that it was that structured and that much oversight. Which, like you said, I get it with the confidence thing. I would hate to have that scrutiny, but at the same time, it's just like reviews and stuff. Like, you want that confidence and know that what you're getting is a value for what you're paying for it.
No doubt.
That's awesome. I'm pumped to know that, because it opens my eyes to wanting to explore that option. Like sure. Like I said, I feel like I fall into this category where the information isn't always true, and people aren't what they say they are, and you can get scammed. And when you put all your eggs in one basket, and it's just time and time again. It's like it just proves itself over and over and over. So I don't blame myself. I don't blame you. I don't blame anybody other than it is what it is. And maybe we can hopefully bring light to it. You brought light to me, to where we can, maybe build on it, and get it back to somewhat where people would reach out to you or other advisors and try to get on track.
Yep.
It's good for everyone. It's good for you. It's good for them. It's good for the community. I don't see a downside to it. I just love information.
That's it.
I love information.
It's the beauty of the current age, the information age. There's so much out there. Like, there was a lot of fear in our industry about this robo-advisor solution, where now people can self-direct and they can do it themselves, and they don't have to trust a human. They can just go online and manage their own finances, all the investments, everything. That's great. It's out there. It's, of course, you can accomplish that. I would be able to accomplish that, push come to shove. That being said, I prefer to have multiple eyes looking at the decision-making process and the investments themselves and what have you. I celebrate the team mentality. It to me, there is a do-it-yourselfer that is correct to do it themselves. There are also the complete and total opposites, where we can create a really positive outcome, one that is more understood, less stressful, more continuity and just like joy from the money, than simply just like, shoot, I retire with $1 million. Now I'm down to $985,000 and I'm defeated by that experience. I think that the psychological element of really like talking through how the number is arbitrary, it is the direction that is relevant. Like, that to me is a value that is clearly not present when you're simply just doing it yourself online. Not to say it can't be done or shouldn't be done by many. It's that it doesn't have to be done by all. And I think the alternative is really an attractive one if you require that relationship. I don't go to the gym. I should go to the gym. If I had a personal trainer that I was standing up to not get up and go to the gym, that I was paying because I had like agreed to go. I'm not going to miss that time at the gym with that person. Like that accountability to me is paramount. And not that, again, a lot of people are super motivated and they're just going to get up and in the garage. I think you're one of them. This is going to go work out. It's awesome. I am not one of them. And I think that if you apply that logic to finance, most people are not that diligent. And even if they are, if you worked for 45 years building this wealth, do you want a full-time job of managing it then after you have retired? Not a lot do.
Yeah, well, I see it from all the angles you're talking about, and I do see where somebody that's super intelligent, that might be something that they enjoy doing, and it occupies their time as they retire. That's cool too. But I see the value in talking to somebody or just the counsel that you might be able to give recommendations or just answer questions, and you're a real person in a real community. That's so much to me, that's here in our community. It's not like you're in Arizona, and you know what? There's probably firms out there that do the same thing, and more power to them. But I just love that personally. It's a connection where you're here, and if there was a problem and I couldn't get you by phone, I just drive to your office, and not that I would be that guy, but
Yeah, no,
you're a real person in
totally
a real
agree.
facilities, brick and mortar. It's a real deal. It's not. And also the other thing with the online thing is how many times we've been scammed on those things too. It's like just like anything. It's somebody's planning or trying to infiltrate it somehow. So I don't know. I can see it from all angles. I didn't realize the importance of everything until I'm actually so happy that you're on here to bring it to light.
Glad to be here.
Even if I'm the only one that takes anything away from this, I'm walking away way smarter and way more enlightened, man.
Funny. No, I love it. It's a conversation that should be had more often and earlier. And it just is not currently part of the normal day. It's not part of the normal curriculum, and it's a shame.
We're consumers, dude. We're worried about what's going on and what we're going to buy, and we all fall victim to it. I mean, I speak for, I'm not saying I speak for everyone, but it's a lot. I get it. It's just one of those things where we're conditioned for that type of thing. We're not conditioned to be financial experts, No. If that were the case, we'd be taught more in school, or, is there something that like, should we be the average person, like, should we seek more education, or is there classes or something that like just a regular average person would want to attend just for the type of thing, or is it something that's what you guys offer, and that's the only way to get it?
No, it's both. There's definitely classes. Warwick has awesome classes. I've taught a few of them. It's like, here's just financial literacy or retirement consideration or tax planning or law or whatever.
Okay.
But like, man, to build, I'll give you an example. I mean, I took all of my classes senior year were financial, related classes or financial adjacent classes. Then I was in the field for, I don't know, a year and a half of like water from a fire hose education, like trial by fire kind of stuff. Then I switched firms after about 3 years, got my CFP about a year after that. I would say that I came into like full form after darn near 5 years of not only full-time work, but the education that preceded it, before I like really was confident in the different areas and felt like I was not getting questions that were, putting me off footing or whatever. It was like, no, of course, let's talk about it. Boom. Yeah, I'm confident.
Yeah.
So to me, the notion and the heavy lift of like building that comprehension, from nothing, or to start with like, I'm going to start on tax, I'm going to build out from there. I'm thankful that technology has brought us a much more personalized way to do that. To me, the back to the homeowners insurance policy. I took it to AI and I'm like, hey, here's my homeowner's insurance policy. If I have shingle damage that was a manufacturer issue, but when this was put in 20 years ago, will my insurance help to pay for that? No. And then I read and I confirmed that that's what that was saying. And it was in language that different than I would have used. But shoot, it was like, here's my personal dilemma and here's boom. I'm not saying blindly put your social security number into an AI software. But what I am saying is like, here's my situation. I am saving X number of dollars a year. Should that go into a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA? And what would be the components of that decision-making process? And then if I'm doing it myself and it spits all that out, at least then I'm not sitting through a 3-hour course that's not pertinent to me. I think many of these courses and seminars are going to be more sort of client seeking and not solicitous, but like targeted at the right type of person that would be a good client for that person putting on the presentation. Whereas I think that the one-on-one relationship with somebody that's aware and knowledgeable of your situation, or grooming a output from a software like or ChatGPT or whatever, this is my dilemma. What are the components of that decision-making process? And then you start to fact check specifically.
Okay.
That is far less frustrating and overwhelming to me because I'm not trying to build some like, start with the business law textbook and work our way out like that. What an enormous lift.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying others like junior achievement, like you brought up earlier, it's like we're not really getting much in education as far as just having good parents that are responsible and push this stuff early. You know?
Yeah.
So it's just interesting.
It should be more. So Seaside Christian, my daughters go to Seaside Christian in West Ocean City, and they have a consumer math that they are teaching to the middle school, I believe it is, or early high school. And I'm like, wait, what is consumer math? And it's this. It's like, this is what happens when you're paid a check and you owe taxes on it. This is what happens when you pay interest on a purchase. Here's what sales tax is.
Good.
I was not taught what sales tax was in any discussion I have any recollection of.
Right.
I know what it is now. I remember very clearly buying like a McChicken or something for $1 after high school one day, and they're like, it's $1.05. I'm like, it says it's $1. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember that clearly being like challenged mentally by that. And then you learn as a result of that experience. To me, it's like to be able to learn from the mistakes of others and not make those mistakes yourself, most especially when it comes to a topic that's already a little sort of like vulnerable and cagey for most. It's like, shoot, why do you have to make that mistake yourself?
Yeah. It's interesting, man. I had a thought I was going to ask and I totally forgot it, but I have another one. Where I was fantasizing about the lottery like 2 weeks ago or something, and I'm like, one of the things I wanted to ask a guest is what they would do with it. But now that you're on here with the financial experts, like say, is that kind of go? I don't know if that parallels with the inheritance thing, but like say you did win the lottery, and it was a substantial amount. Is that something you guys help with too, or is that something like a lawyer would help with?
Yeah, we help with that. We've had some experience in that area, and it's always sort of the. It's a shame that it takes something so drastic and visceral for someone to finally realize I have enough. It's like, okay, you had $1.5 million and you were spending $50,000 a year, and Social Security paid you 35 of it. Now you have $5 million and you're spending $50,000 a year and Social Security's paying you 30. There's no difference to your outcome there, directionally speaking. But it gives instantly the confidence, like, I'm set.
Yeah.
I'm set. And I think that confidence can be achieved before the lottery win in many situations, especially for those that have started early and done the right stuff. But yeah, I mean, you get a lottery win. I daydream about that. To me, it's like, you look at, and it's such an obvious one. They offer you a lump sum that's been gutted by tax withholdings, or an annuitized payout over like 20 years that you keep a much larger dollar amount, but of course it's not all up front. And like, nobody takes the annuity.
What would you do?
Take the annuity.
Really?
I'm not trying to pay more tax than I have to pay. Okay. I'm not trying to. It depends. It's certainly dependent. There's a lot of math that goes into that.
I was just generally curious.
It's the same math as a pension decision, which I would likely, in most cases, answer the opposite. It's like it's so situational where if you can look at something and the taxes are disproportionately expensive at one point of life versus another, that to me is like decision-making domino number one. Like, am I paying the IRS dollars that I could, if I did it differently, not pay to the IRS?
Okay. Well, let me just ask you these simple questions that I have, and I'm excited because this is the way how my brain works. I would take the lump sum personally and just say F the taxes, because one, it's tangible in my hand. It's not gonna ever fizzle out or not be paid. I don't know what kind of securities there are, so I don't know the ins and outs of that. But the other thing is. Dang it! I just totally forgot my other thing. But anyhow, so I can't believe I forgot my point.
Was it what if you die midstream?
No. Oh, what it was it's already so much.
That's fair.
Like, it's already so much money. Like, if you say it was a couple $100 million, it's like, dude, I don't know what kind of life you guys want the rest of your lives, but that's a lot.
Here's where I go with this. So. You pay all that income in 1 year to one person, and their tax rate's like 50-something%. And a shell-shocking realization. Like there was some story about Shohei Ohtani, something about how when he got signed by the Dodgers for this like mega contract, biggest of all time, he structured it to be paid out at like a laughable pittance for the first like 20 years, and then he gets a bunch of it in the back end. Well, the dude's not going to be in the United States at the back end of this. So his LA current income tax rate, his California tax rate, his high earning US federal tax rate will all be different and much lower when he takes the lion's share of that salary later.
That's so badass.
Those dollars go so much further. And his agent was the one that was like championing for this, apparently. This is like the word on the street of how those discussions went. And it's just like, not only did the Dodgers have more money to put into the current team and actually win, which they are doing, but this dude spends more of what he was paid, which is just the fundamental goal. Or rephrased, the IRS keeps less.
Yeah.
Which to me, again, it's like, I want to pay to Caesar what's due to Caesar. Like, I'm not talking about trying to like defraud the IRS by any drastic stretch of the imagination. Instead, I'm saying, how can we be good stewards of our income, be thoughtful about where these dollars are going that would be inefficient, and then also, is there a security that either myself or the future members of my family could actually gather from these dollars? Because it is only money, and like money does absolutely not buy happiness at all. So to me, it's like, how do I lower the risk of a disaster outcome, which is the majority of lottery wins? So they're like totally broke in 5 years because they took it all up front and then it was spent.
Yeah.
And you know, to me, if you can dilute the risks financially and create more predictability, that is a huge win. And to do that on the back of paying less tax along the way, that's where I get super excited, because to me, it's totally us versus the IRS in like the strategy game of finance.
I get that side completely.
And depending on the rates, if you got a lump sum payment that was like way bigger than the annuitized net payout, or if it was paid out over like 50 years or so, you know, whatever, there's obviously like huge layers to that discussion. But like, I'm not going to spend the second 100 million in the first 5 years.
Yeah. That's an interesting way to look at it, though. Like I said, that's just the way I look at it, and it is cool though that you're thinking about it. Not to say like, and I don't even want to say the word, but I'm going to like fraud, like the IRS, because you're not doing anything. You're just making it more efficient for yourself to not pay as much.
So
I love that.
It's a topic we get into every single day. It is by far not the lottery. It is instead, we have an income rate today. We have an income rate tomorrow. So let's look at the average person. So you have a $100,000 wage and then you retire. And when you retire, you're living on maybe 40 grand from Social Security at most. And then what? So you got to replace the rest of your income somewhere. If you saved money in a pre-tax bucket, you got to pay tax on every dollar that comes out. This is your conventional retirement account, an IRA, a 401k, whatever. So those funds are coming out and you got to supplement. So you had 100 grand of income. Let's say 70 of it actually spent and the other 30 went to the government as you earned it. So now you were living on 70. Say half exactly comes from your Social Security. You make up the other half, $35,000, from your retirement bucket. But to get 35 out, you got to draw like 55. So you're just sending dollars to the IRS on every distribution just to butter your bread and actually live your current lifestyle, directionally the exact flat line same as what you were doing when you were employed. So that is a surprise to many. That is a tough pill for many. And when you got to go and buy that car, do that roof, you need an extra 20 grand. Boom, you got to take 30 out because now we're in a new tax bracket. We got to draw more all at once. It just fouls everything up. It becomes very difficult. You have to be thoughtful and tactical in how you draw that income. If you invert this discussion, however, there is an alternative reality in the Roth provision within a retirement plan, or the Roth structure that is offered as well, wherein you pay those taxes as you earn the money and then not pay tax at all in retirement when you live on it.
Okay, so it's just pay me now, pay me later type thing.
It is, but there's two moving parts to this. One is $38.5 trillion national deficit, which to me argues that our tax rates will not get much better than we have today.
Okay, so you're investing pretty much.
I mean,
you're paying the tax rate now versus later.
So it's tough. It's tough because there's variables to this. If you're in the 32% tax bracket right now, likely you're in a lower tax rate in retirement.
Okay.
So maybe you make up that difference by taking the deduction today, especially late career, and then retiring at a lower rate and drawing that income out. You've avoided 10% tax against the IRS. It's great.
Dude, a lot of people don't know this though.
Of course they don't know it.
This is incredible.
It's not talked about enough, and this is the issue. Like, to me, I started deferring 10% to my Roth 401k at 22 years old, 10% of my income, and I have continued that trend to this point in my life, and I intend to continue it further, such that in retirement, I'm going to have pre-tax money, and I'm going to have Roth. It doesn't have to all be one type. And if my income continues to increase, maybe one day it's painful enough to actually pay those taxes that I take the deduction and put it in the pre-tax. Maybe it's blended, whatever. In retirement, however, if I am taking $35,000 a year out of the IRA, so it's 50 pre-tax, 35 it spends, let's just say, and then I do need to put a roof on, if I've got 100 grand in my Roth, I just go and get it. Free, clear, no headaches, no nothing. The bonus points here are twofold. One, if you're in the Roth and the money has grown, you paid tax on the seed, not the oak tree. Fundamental. That's the first one. The second one is I'm a right pessimist about where our tax brackets are likely to go in the coming decades. I'm in mid-30s right now. Where 3 decades from now, where does a $38.5 trillion national deficit take a upper middle class American? I can only assume into a higher tax rate than is today available.
Right.
I can only assume that. Maybe I'm wrong.
Based on trends, no.
I could be totally wrong.
Yeah.
And maybe we screwed the pooch and we paid tax unnecessarily.
It's one of those gambles, but at least you were foresight, seeing further in the future. It's just not something that the average person thinks about without guidance.
Yep.
And maybe, okay, I could be speaking just for me. But the you could tell me, many people that come in, are they just as dumbfounded as I am?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not just speaking for me.
No,
Okay,
I think that the conversation is informed in some areas more than others, and there's fads. The Roth is a fad that has been talked about more and more and more. It's only like 20 years available. The Roth, it's newer, relative, more recent.
Okay.
But it is very, very frequent at this point that a 60-something in my office is talking about a Roth conversion because their algorithm is force-feeding it to them. And I love that. I love it so much. Now, it doesn't fit in many of these situations.
Yeah.
It's all about their taxes.
Okay.
And so for a young person, when I talk to a young person about where they're going financially, I assume a couple of things. And I ask and confirm and verify, but then I make assumptions. So the first would be like, what are you earning right now? They're like, well, I earn $25,000. I'm a seasonal employee in Ocean City, and my taxes are virtual zero. And I'm like, okay. Do you have any money saved up that you intend to invest? And they're like, well, yeah, I have like $5,000. Like, okay. So we can put that into a pre-tax IRA, a traditional, the old standard, and you get a tax deduction. So you don't have to pay tax on that $5,000, and you get a refund now for the taxes that you would have otherwise paid. But they're in like the 0% tax bracket. So avoiding a 0 or a 10% tax hit, it's like laughable. The impact of that is like literally virtual zero. Whereas if they invest that money into a post-tax Roth bucket, $5,000, when they're 22 years old, then you fast forward 5 decades or whatever they're invested for, I can only assume that money would have grown and been productive. I can only assume they will have earned more along the way and be owing then more taxes, a higher effective tax bracket at that time. But then throw on an inheritance. Imagine they inherited money that was also pre-tax. At least now that seed that was planted has maybe not a full oak tree, but like some kind of shrub anyway that is totally tax-free, and they paid almost nothing on the income to put it there. So to me, it's like, yeah, I never get so excited. The first time either of my daughters can show any sort of earned income, I'm totally restructuring how their allowance is paid because that whatever half is going into the Roth IRA immediately. I'm making a bunch of assumptions about the future.
Yeah.
But shoot. It's like that's what planning is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's better than gambling. So
I certainly think so.
I mean, you can look at the trends over the years. We're both not total experts, but it's only been going up. So
and I mean the rates are reasonable currently if you want to look at historic standards, and they are, in my opinion, unsustainable if we're going to solve for a $38.5 trillion national deficit. Now, maybe there's some other outcome here that I can't comprehend at this point, but to me, pragmatically speaking, logically, you hit a middle income or a high earning person for more tax along the way, and you solve for Social Security's issues. You solve for a $38.5 trillion national deficit. It's not a complicated dilemma in my mind. And again, maybe I am totally ignorant to what actually will play out, but I think it is a very like reasonable and logically grounded idea to pay now what we can pay now at the known price that it costs now, if we are assuming a higher rate later correctly. Some people retire with no income tax. So, of course, they should take the deduction when they're still earning, and then they don't pay on the income on the way out. But that's rare.
Yeah.
It's very rare.
Wow. Well, you just opened my eyes to even just that. I've never even considered that. It's not the average person. I think, whatever. I know I keep saying I'm the average person. So, what's your opinion on the $38 trillion deficit? I just feel like it's a virtual number that's never going to get paid.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's like this thing that they're just dangling, the government's constantly saying it. And it's like, well, dude, if you take any more of our money, we're not going to have any more to give you. Like we're literally, if you looked at like what you're doing and how much we're taking and how much we're already giving, and then it's like, there is no more, it's like, I don't see how it could ever get paid.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that it'll ever be zero, certainly not during our lifetimes, and no politician at this point seems particularly motivated to stop the bleeding. So yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. At the same time, yeah, you spend less or earn more logically, and if you're the government and you're overspending, eventually there's some come up and some outcome that is going to be a direction changer. Yeah. And to me, it's, I mean, as incomes are increasing, as there are more and more people employed, and like all the different, like, it depends. I mean, however you want to look at this, even the Roth itself, I find to be a very curious thing. So Delaware, the state of Delaware launched this new statewide retirement plan. So it's called Delaware Earns. California did it first, or they were early to it. It's kind of been spreading. If you're employed in the state of Delaware and your employer does not offer you a retirement plan, now you can go through the state and have access to an investment account for your retirement sponsored by the state of Delaware. It's awesome. Now we're like covering people that were not otherwise covered by a retirement plan. That's the term that's used. The default to Delaware Earns, as I understand it, is a Roth deferral, which is genius, in my opinion, if you're the government, because it is forcing people to pay taxes now. They will pay less in the long run, but they're paying more now towards what the government wants now, which is more money now. And like, if you take a more now process forward and you extrapolate that into the future, more later is a reasonable assumption as well. It can only work that way, in my opinion. Maybe I'm overly simplistic in the way I think about this, but you're probably right. It probably becomes 100 trillion and we're just kind of chilling, and it's just the number the same as 38.
Well, I just see it like, it's like everything's going up and nothing's really changing though. Like it's just numbers. It's just like the cost of living is going up, the price that you're paying for stuff is going up, the wages are going up. So it's like everything is linear. It's at least what it looks like. So it's like, I don't know. It's just going to be a number. And I just look at it like, we're never paying that back. And you might as well just cut the cord.
Let's say that happens. Let's say it just continues to get worse. Our tax brackets are equivalent, like perpetually the exact same as our current tax rates. If that Roth grows at all along the way, we may well still have been correct to have paid those taxes early because the growth now is tax-free. Even if the effective tax rates are a little bit lower in the future, we might have been correct. So it's like, it's a personalized sort of discussion of strategy. It's a problem-solving dilemma of what do we pay now? What do we assume you'll pay later? What other considerations are there? And make an educated guess. I think that's like the theme of the conversations that I have with people is, what are the pros? What are the cons? What are the interpersonal sort of emotional dilemmas that are present? Have I missed any topics that might be relevant to this decision? Okay, I'm like 60-40. Where are you guys at? We just kind of like collaborate. To me, the team collaborative sort of ideology, and like I think your entire show is kind of predicated on this idea of like getting different minds together, talking through what works, what doesn't. Here's my experience, here's yours, all this stuff. It's beautiful. I think it's great. We went a number of years ago. My daughter was restrictive airway type situation. She's like a slow to develop airway. And as she was getting sick the first few times into her early school years, breathing issues, breathing treatments, went to AGH, went to PRMC. We ended up at Johns Hopkins. And it was a thing where it was like, not an emergency, but shoot, like we were on edge. It was a wild experience, the whole thing. On 3 separate occasions, The doctors were outside of our room in a group collaborating together about our case, my daughter's breathing. And it was like, for whatever sort of emotional upheaval we were in the middle of, it was like, here's like a literal team of physicians at this teaching hospital collaborating, considering, throwing out bad ideas, at least hearing the different considerations that might be present. To me, it's like, that makes me feel significantly better. We try at my firm currently to replicate something similar where we do bring multiple advisors in. We try to collaborate both with clients and outside of the client meeting to just be like, no, dude, like, what about this? Like, I think you're missing this. If you run that forward a few years and this occurs or that occurs, wouldn't we have been wrong to have done it this way? Well, yeah, maybe. Let's talk to the client about that and see what they think. Or, no, actually, good thought. I'm dead set. This is exactly right, and here's why. I think that challenging that and having sort of that mentality of both collaboration and learning, how else would you do it?
I don't know.
To me, it's logical.
Yeah, I love that. That's what makes great ideas, or like good ideas, become great. You know,
Agreed.
And it weeds out all of the BS in between too.
Agreed.
And it's reassurance too when it becomes a good idea. There's multiple people that are like, all right, if it fails, we still thought it was a good idea.
Here was the process.
Yeah.
Here we've notated our logic.
Yeah.
We'll never be right 100% of the time, but like, if making educated guesses can be done with confidence because there's been good discussion and collaboration, I don't think clients expect any more than that, especially if they're part of that discussion, which they always are. And that's the beauty of, I think, why I enjoy what we do so much and why I enjoy who I do it with and why it is not solicitous sales. Here's your snake oil, perfect investment that's going to fix everything. It's like far from.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know, though, for the average person that's considering, financial planning and things. That it's not. I mean, it's all coming to light for me. So it has to be for others. One of the things I want to ask you too. I see gold's going crazy, man. The price is astronomical, and the dollar. They're talking about like that might fold and all this crap. That's the unsexy side of things. But gold and silver. Do you guys deal with that too? Or like, I guess this goes into portfolio diversification. So does that mean anything to you?
Yeah, I mean, we try to diversify as much as possible. I'd say that it's, precious metals are their own kind of conversation. I would say that cryptocurrency is kind of its own conversation. There's several areas that you can diversify that are unconventional or alternative, say, to like the stock and bond sort of, core options, if you will. The answer is yes. I mean, if it's the SIPC and FINRA and these different governing bodies consider it a legitimate investment, then yeah, we not only talk about it, but are able to have typically some form of access to it in the way that we diversify through these different funds and whatever investments. It's tough to go into a specific investment topic. I would say diversification is like the king of all that we do, and we're very thoughtful in what areas we are diversifying. I think that some have shown a track record of being worthwhile investments for the long run. Others have not shown that, and to us, it's like, how do you reconcile both whatever trend and fad there is of the current market with the fact that we want to beat inflation sustainably? We want our dollars that we are entrusted with to preserve their value and grow on that value. We try to problem solve the investments around that logic set. And I think that it is typically not that complicated to beat inflation if you're doing so in a diversified and thoughtful way, if you're managing actively according to what's changing in the markets, et cetera. So.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack there. I just think about it. This is how small my brain is when I think about gold. And I'm like, all right, what is it, $2,000 an ounce or whatever? And I'm like, I'm on the other side of it where I'm like, man, I wish I would have bought it sooner because it would have appreciated. It's like I can't reconcile the even though it's say $2,100 or $2,000 bills to buy $2,000 worth of gold. It's like, because it's not instantly appreciating, or I didn't buy it sooner, I'm like, well, why would I even buy it? But it's so silly because it's $2,000 and $2,000. You're getting the same value. It's just it's not appreciated yet, I guess.
And it's tough. I mean, you cannot predict what's going to appreciate, what's going to not appreciate in the coming cycle, especially short term. So, I mean, to me, if you can buy low and sell high over time, that appreciation is implied and is likely. and that capture of growth and taking the house money, so to speak, is more likely to occur. But shoot, it's very, very difficult to execute like repeatedly. That's where diversification is just like paramount. You have to own enough different things that you're able to keep trend, whether against whatever index you're comparing yourself to, against the rate of inflation. And different clients have completely different risk appetites. Some clients are completely unwilling to suffer a 10% loss, so we invest much more conservatively. Mm-hmm. Other clients are like, who cares? I want to earn 25% when the market's good or whatever, and they have a larger, more lofty aspiration. So you invest differently, of course, more aggressively or what have you, into maybe different assets, different categories. It's all very personalized. And to me, it's like never's a long time kind of thing. Like never say never is certainly my idea there.
Yeah, well, I just think about gold, like when I hear it being talked about, it's like, man, you actually have an actual tangible piece of gold that's, in your hand, I don't know how it works if like,
yeah,
how does that work if say somebody had $100,000 in gold, and that's part of their retirement plan, who's it? And say they go to, is it something they hold on to? Like, I guess maybe that's too personal. I don't really know, but like, is it still considered an asset, or is it in the bank system, or how does it work? Or is it just like having cash and nobody talks about it? It's just something you have.
Well, the problem with even just cash, you walk into the bank with 12 grand, they're going to flag it because it's a large deposit that could well be money laundering, and they're going to ask questions, and they're going to inquire and submit a form and all this stuff. I mean, so it's no different with any asset. If you sell something and there's no paper trail, you got to deposit the proceeds at some point. I mean, like I'm generalizing, and this is not like a wheelhouse knowledge area for me.
This is just me being curious.
The issues I see, I mean, yeah, it's absolutely okay. The issue with gold that you run into, or any sort of real property, physical, like coin or asset, if it's a big thing, they have to like drill into it. They have to grade it that it's legitimate and the quality of, and then they charge you not only for that to be performed, but then the commission on the sale. And that's before any taxes are reported on that transaction. So to me, it's like, obviously ain't nothing perfect about any of this. Like, you have to pick something that's fully liquid and can be sold that minute for whatever price the current market offering is, something that you have to find a buyer for, and they're going to pay you like a house, whatever they think it's worth is what it's worth. Who cares what it appraises at? Like, that's where I think you have to consider liquidity. And I mean, to me, the idea that you have like $100,000 gold bar, I don't know that I'm buying eggs with that in any sort of practical sense, even if the apocalyptic outcome, it's like, where does that actually like logically go?
That's my question.
I struggle with that. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't know.
It seems kind of crazy though that, like, say a person walks into the bank with even $8,000 cash or 20 grand.
Yeah.
It's like they're not used to that.
No, and I mean, even there was some suggestion a couple years ago that if you Venmo'd or Cash Apped or whatever more than $600, that they would do the same, and that they would inquire about.
No kidding.
Yeah, where'd this come from?
Wow.
And to me, that's probably where we go. Probably all transactions are completely monetized digitally in some way, that they're formalized digitally, and that there's some direct clear tracking system, whether it's a crypto type setup or if it's they put something in your wrist when you're born that you scan everything, whatever it is. I don't know how they're going to do it, but to me, it's like the government has a lot of skin in the game in making sure that you're not selling stuff under the table. So them being more aware of each bill and where it moves and like the footprint and the tracking of that, I think that's only likely to increase.
It's kind of crazy. I just think that, and this is just me in woo-woo land, I feel like with all of the taxes that we pay and all of the things, it's like when you get to a certain level, we as humans are the currency. Like, if we're not out producing, nobody at the top is making anything because theirs comes from us. So it's like, when you break it down, that's what gives me like, that's what, like, it doesn't like take the wind out of my sails. But when I break it down like that, I'm like, what's real? Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, possessions and all this crap that we chase every day and these nice cars, and I'm guilty of all that crap. But it's like, that's why I look at it and I'm like, it doesn't mean anything. I'm just out here just spinning my wheels, Like, I'm not trying to bring it down or anything. It's just like, damn, when you break it down, it's depressing, dude. Just two guys just out doing life, and we're all making our way, but it's like, damn.
No, I know. I mean, we have, I think, each of us a part to play in the grander scheme that is very much sort of like not optional. But at the same time, I mean, there's a lot of, you can get away with a lot right now, I think, in ways that will only get tighter. I don't know what example you would want to use, whether it's like that a digital transaction is not flagged, whereas a cash deposit is flagged, and that gets tighter and more restrictive. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's like, how are you reporting that you have a need that justifies a disability check, an unemployment check, food stamps, whatever? Like, are the guardrails and the regulations tightening to the point that you are making to be even more than autonomous for whether it be the government or whatever cloak and dagger entity we're describing here, that they are aware of everything that we have? And then I bounce home and my Alexa is listening to what I'm saying, and I'm just like, huh. I don't know.
Yeah, me
I
neither.
don't know,
It's just food for thought, you know? It's
yeah,
like,
it's a
man,
dark mental place that you're taking us.
yeah, I don't mean to, but it's just things I think about, you know? It's just an average guy that works solo, that's just where my brain goes, you know? And then I just look at the big picture and I just say, those curtains, dude, it's just this Rolodex, you know?
Yep.
I try to not think about it too much, but at the same time, I'm like, well, there's a lot of people that are relying on like us to go out and make the money, to go out there and do the transactions and do the sales and do all the things, because that's the sales tax and the income tax is what they're relying on for their job. So it's like the ladder is tipping, you know, like there's only so many people that can generate the money that's actually being used in the economy.
Yep.
And then you got these people that are over here that are taking the tax. When you think about that side of it, it's kind of crazy, you know? And then when you're just like, well, I'm just one simple guy, I want to live one simple life, it's hard to let in all these other thoughts about like financial planning and things, because it just seems like unobtainable for the average guy. And I don't speak for all of them, I just speak for me. And then I look at the fraud and corruption and things we've seen in the past, and just like to your point about the betting on the taxes and paying it now, paying it later, it's like, well, maybe I'll just hold on to it. And based on the current trends, I'm just saying thoughts that come to my mind. That's just how I think, you know?
Yep.
But I'm also open to, you know, now I'm more enlightened and have more confidence. Say if I were to ever explore, you know, financial planning to this capacity and things, it's encouraging that it is within reach and it's reasonable and it's, you know, governed and safe and things like that. So,
yeah, I mean, if the alternative is the reality, then my career path ends at some stage because whatever crazy scenario, and that's great. I mean, I'm along for the ride as long as it lasts, and here I am, you know, fat, dumb, and happy or whatever. But like, I can appreciate what you're saying, and I think that it's there's like tangible ways we can track this right now, in which I look at, like, if you can get a yield or an interest payment from the bank currently on your cash, and say it's a 3% yield right now. And inflation is just announced at like 2.9. Okay, so we're beating inflation with cash. Historically, that doesn't hold up. It's like typically the bank rate comes down. We've heard a lot in the news about how interest rates are meant to continue coming down. So let's just say we are ending the season in which bank yields are greater than inflation. Well, wait. If I give you a 3% bank yield right now on $10,000, and then you got to pay tax on it, the 2.9 rate of inflation is now a greater number than your after-tax bank yield, such that you have failed to beat inflation even with a higher rate. And to me, it's like easy enough to think about like this with debt. If I have a 10% home equity loan outstanding or whatever I'm paying on, it's 10% level, and I think I can accomplish a 10% portfolio return, what about the taxes that have to come out of that portfolio return? And I mean, I like to diversify. I think it's good to have liquidity. And if you want to pay this off later, you want to do something else before you pay it off, having liquid cash, having investments is great. It's wonderful. If it's just logic, though, and it's that I have a 10% tide working against me and a after-tax tide of 7 working for me, if you run that over and over and you compound that against yourself over time, you lose a ton of ground. And I mean, I think that the discussion within reason is, are we aware of inefficiencies? Are we able to point to them and collaborate on them? Or is it just a slam door? I will always have this the way that I have it now, and I'm not willing to discuss it at all. I think that's more or less, I think, the way to vet a financial advisor relationship. Are you willing to have these conversations or not? Mm-hmm. And I mean, more power to you either which way.
Oh, yeah. No, I wasn't trying to diminish you at all. No. I'm just saying this is just how my peon brain works. And it's just, you know, in a perfect world or what. I'm just saying I see both sides of it.
Yep.
I'm just the
No, I do
devil's
too.
advocate,
Totally.
it's just interesting to think about it. And at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know. I leave with confidence, but I'm also like, not to do with what you're doing, but like just the whole thing when I think about it, like society wise, I'm like, oh, we're doomed. That was not a dig at you or
No, for sure.
what you're doing.
No,
at all.
I hear what you're saying.
It's just I like to explore that side of things too. So
And I think
it's interesting.
I have this like ignorance, this luxury of ignorance in which I can logically play through this stuff within the rules that we currently have. And if the rules change in a way where like the US dollar is not relevant, yeah, I'm not prepared for that in some tangible way. I don't have a skill set that would translate well to that scenario.
Nobody does.
Yeah. So like for me, it's like I do have this sort of like more narrow understanding then of like the most likely next steps, which is we continue punting the national deficit and whatever and printing money and the same stuff that we've been doing for 200 years, 250, whatever. And that's great. I think that that's like the world I operate in. And in the discussion then of like tax planning, diversifying investments, whatever, it can be solved for. If the dollar goes away, I can't solve for that. So I don't spend a ton of time worrying about it because it's like I'm completely up a creek, as are all of us.
I was going to say, if that's the case, then we're all doomed.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know that it matters at that point if there's the gold bar in your back pocket, if there's a Folgers jar with $100,000 in it. I don't know that any of that at that point even makes sense. But it's amazing how much this topic comes up. I swear it's got to be like 8-10 times a year. This is a topic that I get into at like minimum. And I don't have any coherent answer at all.
Yeah, no, I was just curious.
It's a good topic.
I hear about it all the time, and I'm like, well, I don't have any gold, but I wish I did, But my stupid brain says to like don't buy it because it seems silly, but it's only going up in value. It's just how my brain works. And like I said, I'm not a smart guy. I just kind of just
smart to me.
Go where my gut tells me to go, dude. But
yeah.
I don't know. It's just fun to think about too. Like, just like the team building and things. It's like, it's just fun to think about it in different ways, and then like, it always grounds me when I think about it like that. I'm like, yeah, that's right. I am just some insignificant person, just living my life, and there's way more people, above me that know how to diversify and whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think if there's any part of what you're saying that I don't directly agree with, it is your point about it being unattainable, like financial sort of independence or freedom or whatever. Right. I don't consider that to be an unattainable thing for many. That being said, the next generation that comes out laden with student debt, priced out of buying a house, accustomed to door dashing a 3-payment burrito,
yeah,
they dig themselves a hole that is unattainable to dig out of. I think if you run that logically forward by 20, 30 years. And to me, that is the more sort of likely future scenario that I can entertain, where I don't know a solution for that other than messaging basic financial literacy early and often. And I wish that it was done from the mountaintop, like everywhere. That's why I was interested in chatting with you.
I wasn't blowing holes in it. I think it's obtainable for sure. I just think when you think about everything considered as like you're just one guy doing this and blah blah blah, and then it's like, well, that's a world that it seems like that, but it's not. I agree with you. I think it is obtainable if you seek the right guidance and things. I 100% agree with you. And you showed me that.
It's a death by 1,000 cuts scenario, and like if we're swimming upstream, it's like coming even like a little more hydrodynamic against that stream is all that the discussion really is. And to me, the easiest example ever, I have people all the time that tell me, no, I'm paying one extra payment a year on my mortgage because it'll shave whatever, 4 or 7 years, whatever the number is based on interest, off of the life of my note. I'm like, cool. Then they show me that they have a 25% interest rate credit card outstanding that is eroding every ounce of that compounding benefit. Every ounce. And I'm like, well, wait, we're paying 5 times the interest to a credit card company, but we're paying double on something that's tax deductible and that we live in, an appreciating asset in most cases versus a complete bad debt. And like to me, that is the current working against us, is that bad debt. The mortgage itself, I consider an awesome investment fundamentally. In almost every case, it's like that was a cornerstone financial decision made typically early in life that only gets better. It's tax-free in most cases when you sell the house under the current law. It's like, to me, that is a beautiful, beautiful thing, but people race to pay it off while they're allowing this like rip current of credit card debt
Oh yeah.
to pull them out to sea. It's like, to me, that's where it is like, yeah, you let that go for too long, it's smothering. Whereas if again, like a marginal adjustment, this doesn't take any money out of your pocket in a year, it just redirects where it's going. And you literally make like leaps and bounds of progress with one marginal decision that you never even feel.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting, though, that we're so quick to go out and get a credit card with this limit and this ridiculous interest rate, but yet we won't step into a financial planner's office and actually make things that could actually make us more money or keep more money in our pockets? That's crazy to me.
Couldn't agree more.
It's like it's reversed. So I don't know. I just think it's so crazy. I actually stay away from credit cards. They scare the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I will say. And I guess I'll put on the record. I don't have any credit cards, and it's because I know how easy it is to spend somebody else's money, and then it's like it's you're not. I don't know. It doesn't feel like you're held account. I mean, you are accountable for it, but it seems easy, and it's too dangly for me to want that. So
I think that's a very responsible way to handle it.
Scary, dude.
I know a lot of people that would.
It just feels wrong. You know, I don't know.
It's one thing. It's one thing if you can make the payment. I think probably like 85% of my clients do use credit card as their primary source of spending, and they make that payment in full, the entire statement balance every single month.
People with discipline, like you said, they can do it. But if even the most disciplined person, I think it's so easy to be like, I'll make the minimum. It's so easy.
Yep.
I don't understand why. It's something it's a mental thing. I don't understand it. I'll never understand it. But that's why I don't have them, because they just scare me, and it's this dangly thing, and it just seems like it's set up to make you fail. And that's why I stick to even though I know there's benefits, and I know you can get points and miles and all that stuff, and that's that dangly fruit that they're trying to sell you on it, so that way, in my opinion, that you get behind, and that's where they make their money. You know what I mean? Nobody's just handing you out money for you to use. You know?
And more recently, the vendors, the like local, whatever it be, a restaurant or shop or whatever, they are now having the purchaser pay the surcharge on the credit card fee, which is whatever 2-3%, and or are offering like a 5% discount for paying with cash. It's like suddenly you're getting like an 8% reduction in what you actually pay if you don't use the credit card. So like 1.5 of whatever cash back from your credit card company hardly puts that back in your pocket. It's at that point you've still paid 6% too much, so I don't know. I can appreciate it for what it is. I think I can use it responsibly and have the diligence and discipline and all this to actually maintain and not pay interest or late fees or all this different stuff. But if you are not that person, just like not having any association with is obviously the more responsible choice, and it's one that you can totally pave your own road with. It's not like it's an inevitability that you have to use credit.
Yeah, and I'm that's just for me. Like I said, they just make me nervous.
There's a lot of people like that.
But there's if everyone had the discipline to pay the bill, then there would be no credit card debt. If you just use it responsibly every month.
Yeah, and you would never see the commercials. Right.
I'm just saying. I think it does go back to discipline. I think that there's people though that can do it safely or whatever. I don't want to beat that subject too much. It just scares me. So I'm just gonna go to my list real quick. Just a couple of questions. We're hitting it pretty good. What are some bad investments that people think are good? Like, when I think of investments like cars or something like that, I don't really know like what are myths that go into that come to mind.
Yeah, I mean, cars, campers, boats. More often than not, I see people that are buying things with the idea that they are going to. No, you know what the best one is I have a car payment and I am going to continue it at the same monthly amount when I replace a 6-year-old vehicle that was almost paid off with a brand new vehicle that is not. So say it's a $500 car payment. I think that this is maybe not a direct answer to what you are asking, but that logic set for me is like the most frustrating. I have the worst time with that because it's
crazy to me.
And like credit to the car salespeople that are like, no, it's the same payment as before.
They're selling the shit out of it.
I agree. And it's great. I mean, like, I know people love cars. I don't necessarily consider myself like some like car lover or whatever. I don't know that it is as much of a joy factor for me as the average person. So it's maybe easy for me to say. But like, man, if you're 6 years into a 7-year car payment, which is its own separate conversation, and you now sell it, you recapture virtually none of that equity and you convert it into a brand new balloon debt that is, let's say at the same interest rate. I don't really care what the interest rate is. You have just prolonged a debt for like an indefinite period of time, call it 5, 6, 7 years, whatever. That same person is almost assuredly paying a extra payment against their mortgage to shave 4 years or 6 years or whatever off the end of their note on a 30-year mortgage. That, to me, back to your previous thing, are we going to be alive at that point? It's such an abstract, it's like, man, oh man, I see that as a highly erosive net worth negative sort of arrangement financially. And it is like so common, so common. So
I think about that all the time when I hear somebody getting a new car. We celebrate like this new Expedition. It's like the limited version, and I'm like, hey, if you can afford it, more power to you. I love craftsmanship and appreciate all the things that come with that, but I'm like, man, I hate. This is my brain. I hate to be like that because I hate it when people do it to me, but I'm like, I hate to freaking pay that one off. You know what I mean? But
yeah, it's tough. And I mean, to me, there's like, again, where my brain goes is not to recondition someone like, don't you buy that next car.
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
agree.
no, I consider it inevitable. If somebody appreciates a vehicle and they want to buy a new car for 5 years, if that is the joy that they get and derive from the way that they experience their money, more power to them. I am far from here to lecture against.
Yeah.
Instead, where my mind goes is, did you know a U.S. manufactured new vehicle under the big beautiful bill now has an interest tax deduction that you could potentially use? It's like, can we save anything against the IRS if we do it this way versus that way? Like, that's where my brain goes, because it's like we have a rule book there that is finite and clear. I don't have a rule book for the human sort of experience of like, no. My friend bought this car, I'm going to buy it too, or whatever the sort of logic set is. If you want to buy a car or boat or whatever, it's like, go right ahead. What can we use of this constructively? And maybe the answer is nothing. And more power to enjoy it in good health, you know?
Yeah, there was no dig at buying a new car either. I love them. I think it's awesome. It's just kind of, I like driving junk. I like driving something that doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is a old Jeep I have. It's like I paid $400 for it in 2017.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, still on the road. I mean, I fixed it up here and there, but
See, and that's, there's no such thing as a bad investment in that conversation, because what would be a bad investment for me, which is a Jeep with age that I don't have the skill set to keep and improve and maintain, you're going to get sweat equity out of that you can then tangibly take when you sell it, if you sell it, or you just use it until the wheels fall off and you love every minute. Like, you know,
Yeah.
So it's again, it's like, I don't know that there's, if you're diversifying correctly and you want to go and like be more speculative and play and invest in certain stocks or invest in real estate locally or whatever it is, it's like, shoot, do it. Why the heck not? But it's the same thing I say to somebody going to a casino. While I don't consider it gambling to invest, I would say if you're going to walk into the casino with $1,000 and you have 100 to lose, why in the world did you just take $1,000 into that casino? You know what I'm saying? Like, there needs to be some guardrails to that sort of logic, that this is the play money or the experimental, more speculative investments. Because the foundation is built here, I have the freedom to go and enjoy and be speculative there. I don't think that many people build it out that way, but for me, that's the way my brain works. I want to point, there's the emergency bucket, there's the life insurance policy, there's the credit card payment for next month and the mortgage payment for next month and the car payment that you have right now. So who cares if you buy $500 of like, I don't care, gold, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's like, go right ahead and maybe it'll take off and you'll win the lottery in an indirect way. And it's wonderful. But, you know, to me, it's the bad investment is when you take an incorrect amount of risk with too much money. If you're taking not enough risk, you're taking too much risk, you've got too much of a disproportionate weighting. That to me is a bad investment. It needs to be balanced.
it's a lot.
I don't know.
It's a good way to circle it all together, though. I mean, you couldn't spell it out any better.
Well, good. I think so. It's I love that people have their own things, and that when people start talking about a stock that's going to be the perfect new inevitable sort of like, I don't know, everyone's going to need this because we all use this thing and this is a fundamental part of that technology developing or what. I mean, it's great. It's like, that's super exciting. That's what got me into investing in the first place. So yeah, I mean, experiment, try stuff, see what works, see what doesn't, but also have that stewardship mentality, that responsibility, and that sort of structure built in to where even when this gets screwed up and goes to zero, let's just say the direction is still secure because I put those other pieces in place first.
Yeah, I like that analogy of building the foundation first and letting everything kind of build on that. Yeah, should be the way we do it.
I think it is less complicated than the mind would assume, and that it can be both. We can have fun with our money, and we can also have enough later. In most cases, that's exactly how people do it.
Yeah, it's just weird though that I mean, like I said before, I mean, we could beat that horse to death, but it's like we're just structured to go the other direction almost. You know, like we're instead of running somewhere like you where we're going to be educated and be able to make better decisions, we're running over this way where it's credit cards and fun and liabilities. And it's easy. I fall into I just dance that line really. So
Yeah.
it's just nice though to bring it to light and new perspective even for me. I just hope that it resonates. But on a personal side of things, did you have any more to add to any more of the financial stuff?
I think we've hit most of the topics that I'm hearing the most and talking to people about the most. I think it parallels to so many things that we are good at. It's just we've never taken. For me, it was like with AI. I was totally intimidated by AI. I was curious enough to watch a masterclass video about it, and I was like, I could totally be more efficient in this area, more accurate in this area, more whatever, more confident if I use this selectively. Mm-hmm. And then I toyed around with it a little bit in an area that I was familiar. I asked it fantasy football questions. It answered incorrectly. I was like, oh, I see. My input was incorrect. Like now I can input this, and I learned more confidence, more momentum behind it, whatever. I think that financial literacy is the same. And then if you get a little bit of confidence, this is how this works. This is where that belongs. This is how that maybe could benefit me. It is, I think, very quickly a point of confidence. And we don't have to be experts, but if directionally we're on the right path, I think it really can be a fulfilling thing that people like thinking about instead of just this like shame, taboo. Why are you asking me what I have in my savings account? You know what I'm saying? There's a way to accomplish that in my opinion. And I don't know. I think it parallels the gym. I think it parallels to literally any hobby or skill set that you have. And I don't think it requires a commitment of like hours of your day for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. That's
just sitting down with you is open my eyes to where I would think outsider looking in to go, say I called you to have a consultation. I would go into it like one, weary of what I'm getting into. Also two, now I'm more educated by listening to what you guys do and the ideas and things that you offer. But I don't know. It is a thing though. Like when you average person, daunting. It's scary. It's vulnerable. Putting yourself out there and saying that stuff, and obviously it's you have a personal identity too. Nobody wants to put that out there, like where they don't have any money or they weren't saving or weren't planning and stuff. So I get it, all angles. I would walk in there the same as everyone, just because it's an unknown, unless you're in that world though, like unless you had a grandparent or somebody that can kind of guide you and give you some bits and pieces, and then you come full circle with information. It's hard.
You're gonna hit that unknown and that sort of like the moment of maturation where you're just forced to face your finances
now or later, right?
Yes. And to me, I was never so happy. I had I forget if they were 22 or 23, newlywed couple, 3 weeks married, sitting in my office. We want to start this off the right way.
Hell yeah.
And I was just like,
wow,
bless you. This is the most validating thing, and I have no doubt in my mind that they will be successful with their finances.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind.
That's encouraging. How about this though? And this is just a different way, totally off topic, but it's like the people that don't go to the hospital because they're nervous of the diagnosis.
I was not going to compare myself to a physician, but I mean, yes, it's like
it's the same thing.
If you're afraid and intimidated and this and this and this, and then your prognosis becomes worse for inaction. That is exactly the parallel. That's exactly the parallel.
It's
and
scary,
further,
though.
if you go to your doctor,
hear.
No, of course they don't. And if you go and they ask you a question you don't want to answer and you misrepresent your situation, you're probably not going to get the correct diagnosis. And again, far from a physician am I. If you don't show me your tax return, and I'm trying to reconcile a Roth or a pre-tax deferral, and I'm unaware that you've got $1 million inheritance pending and you have whatever, a really low tax year this year, it's going to be incorrect advice that I am giving because I don't have all the puzzle pieces. I don't have the whole picture. Mm-hmm. No different than if you go to your doctor and you withhold the fact that you've been bleeding from your ear or what, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to be vulnerable or else. And to me, it's like fire and brimstone is not at all my approach. Like, I think we are significantly more human as financial advisors than we are considered to be, sort of like broad scale. So it's like all it takes is just to break that glass once and to build that relationship with someone you can communicate well with. And then from there, it's like, shoot, it is not as intimidating or as sort of like premier or elite. I have many people. We have no account minimums. So people come in, oh, I only have $50,000. Is that enough to have a meeting with you? Another firm told me that I have to have 500,000 to have a meeting. Like, no, of course, come in. Like, let's talk. Wait, you have $50,000 now. Who cares? It's like, what? How is that? Is that bad?
Unless nobody knows, that would be what I would do. It's like, I'm inadequate to even step in your office. I don't have much to put in my monthly account.
Yep.
And that's just, what I would think about is, am I adequate enough to even go talk to this guy? Because it seems, outsider looking in, like I said, unattainable. It's not, I'm maybe not using that word correctly, but it just seems like something I shouldn't be doing because I'm not making enough to put in there in the first place.
Right. And so therefore, where that goes is, let's just run that scenario back to your previous point. You inherit money in 15 years. You're 15 years closer to not being able to use your hands and your skill set to create an income of your own. You have all those predispositions about stockbrokers and Bernie Madoff, and you don't know any financial advisors or whatever. Who are you going to call? I don't think you're Googling at that time to be like, who's a really great financial advisor locally?
Terrible.
Some people do that. Some people absolutely do that, and we have made great relationships with people that started exactly like that. I think our generation is far less prone to, hey, I am highly vulnerable in this area, otherwise underprepared. Now I have this windfall and I'm just going to blindly turn over the entire envelope to tell me exactly what to do. It's like, no, that's not how we work, in my opinion. Our entire generation and below.
Yeah.
So
you definitely want a relationship built. And I see it. Like, I'm wide open to it, but I wouldn't have known had you not hit me up and just said, hey, you want to talk money?
Yep.
And here I was with my dumb response. The only thing I know how to do is spend it.
It's funny.
I'm so happy that you were able to make time to actually come in here and sit down and hang out.
I love it.
To be completely honest with you, I'm walking away here more enlightened and more confidence than ever. And like I said, it's a mental thing, and I'm sure I'm one of many, dude. And I'm not like the exact example. I mean, I may be better than most. I don't really know, but at the same time, I'm just saying, like, even I'm could do better. And I'm always self-diagnosing and wondering where I can excel or how I can be better. So I'm the guy that's scared to go to the doctor because I don't want to know the answer. So that's why I use that example, and it just that I'm one of many though. So.
Yeah, but putting a Band-Aid on a paper cut beats the heck out of having your arm amputated three years later because you got an infection that you never did. You know what I'm saying? It's so easy.
You're disciplined in areas where a lot of people aren't, though. So I'm just like, it's probably because it's your day-to-day and you're in it every day where
Agreed.
I can see it. Like, you carry the confidence in the numbers and things, and that's awesome. I just, for a regular person, I'm just using myself. I'm just going to use myself. It's just one of those things that I know I keep saying that I don't think about, but I don't know. I'm just happy that you're able to bring that knowledge and make it come full circle.
Yeah, no, I'm thrilled. Hopefully it translates because it's a conversation that should be had.
Yeah, I'm just mind blown, honestly. You said a lot of information that I'm going to have to listen to this a couple times and really interpret it.
Yeah.
But on the personal side of things, do you care to get into any of your hobbies or anything that makes your clock tick? I'm just curious about that on a personal side of like what you like to do and
Sure. No, I definitely enjoy spending time with my family. We live near Berlin. We live in town, so we'll like ride bikes to the Decatur Park and just like my youngest on her scooter and my 8-year-old just humming around on our two-wheeler trying to, breakneck turn or whatever. That kind of stuff is awesome. I play drums. I enjoy playing drums.
Really?
So I play at Stevenson United Methodist Church in Berlin primarily, but I've also kind of like substituted at some different churches, and
that's awesome.
I played a couple times with a local artist who has since moved away, Jeremiah Coyne. I don't know if you ever heard of him. Mm-mm. He's amazing voice. He's awesome. He writes limitless original songs, and anyway, he asked me to play a couple shows live with him, and now I'm actually doing some studio stuff with him. He's got an album coming out, and I'll play some drums on that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. We're recording on Wednesday night actually. Some more stuff for that. which is cool. I played drums since like middle school. I marched at Decatur, and then I marched for a year at college. Um, I had never been in like the studio environment. I only ever played at like churches or like little live gigs or whatever. So the studio thing has been like totally different. I was kind of blown away by how, like, when you have a singer with a good voice, contrary to my YouTube consumption of like the drummers that are going hard and flipping their sticks and playing every single note they can possibly think of, when you have like a leading act that's got talent, you want to complement that. You want to be behind the scenes and like soft, or at least like not in your face, so to speak. Whereas my natural go-to is to be like punchy and loud and like present. But
I've
anyway,
seen
that's
that in
been super.
bands.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I love it. When you get a band, it's drifted me like hard toward like heavier, post-hardcore like metal music, because the drums are on such full display the whole time.
Yeah.
Whereas like this is far from that, and Jeremiah's voice and his guitar stuff and the lyrics, it's just like that needs to breathe. So the studio has been like one of the harder things I've ever done drumming, is like to not play as much and to be more sort of like present and complimentary. I don't know, but I love playing drums.
That's awesome, man. I was just listening to somebody talking about drums the other day, and they were saying that it's significantly harder than any other instrument, like to learn.
That's funny. I actually went to Ocean's Calling, and Vance Joy was there with this brass section. He had this female trumpet player, and then this other guy on the baritone sax. I don't know what kind of sax. But we were in like the perfect spot where the speakers converged, and they were mic'd up perfectly, and they just like ripped through everything. When those brass, the two of them together just came out, it was like, I got to learn how to play the trumpet. And somebody's like, that is the hardest instrument you could ever learn to play. And I'm like, I don't know. So I should have, if I could go back, I would start with piano lessons, and have done so when I was like 5. So that's what my daughters are doing now.
That's
So
awesome.
start off on the right like musical competency to really understand keys, and then to go from there. But yeah, it's I love it. It's a good stress reliever. It kind of became a challenge. I had acoustic drums, and then when my firstborn came along, it was like, can't really play that much when she's awake, can't really play that much when she's asleep. I always kind of crapped on electronic drums, but I, at that time, mid-pandemic, bought a set electronic so I can play like after bedtime and not bother everyone.
Really?
So I've been playing a lot more since then, and it's easier to record stuff and do things like that. So
That's awesome,
yeah, I love that.
dude. I think it's awesome. People that have the musical ability, your appreciation for things, like where I'm more into like craftsmanship and things. I'm not saying that you're not, but like you bring a different perspective when you're into drumming, and I try to listen, and I appreciate like the guys at church at the drum, and I'm looking at them and they're awesome. But like you can look at the bands and dissect the music and other certain things probably better, I would think, like because you're in that world. No,
It's hard for me to listen to anything but the drums, so there's a downside to that. But yeah, I mean, it's like I do focus heavily on not the vocals and not the lyrics, and like, my wife will play me a song and be like, 2 weeks later, play it again, and I'll be like, oh, I've never heard this song before, and she's like, yes, you have.
oh,
I'm like, oh,
You're
that
so
drum, like, you're
focused.
right. I'd never listened to a single word that singer was singing. I was all
funny.
about what the rhythm section had going on, and yeah.
that's funny.
I agree with that. I think that's music is incredible. It's so different for different people, and that Vance Joy, the guy I mentioned, my wife has been listening to him for years. She has played him in the house like countless times. I was never interested at all. I was just kind of like, this will put me to sleep, whatever. Seeing him live and then seeing that brass section, and like all it took was like the first song they played, and I was like locked in. And now every time he's on, I'm like, yes, it's Vance Joy.
That's
Do you hear that trumpet player? But she's soft on the recording. It's like, that's my defense. I didn't know she was there.
That's awesome,
No,
man.
I love music.
That's super cool. Yeah, I enjoy watching the drums, and I think it's because I like the things working and mechanical things and gears and stuff, that like watching somebody just ripping those things apart. It's to me, that's the show. I'm not trying to take away anything from the lead singer and all the bass guitarists and stuff. I love all of it, but you guys are like, I don't know, an anomaly. Like you're pretty. It's pretty important to me.
There's
I think it's
videos, a bunch of them online about like, whatever pop song you want, whatever, and the drummer will play a completely different style for like, I don't know, he'll go from
I've seen him.
basically 6 different styles in like 35 seconds or whatever it is. And it's like the drummer has absolute total control over what the song sounds like. Here's proof. And I totally agree. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. Have you seen that guy? I think it's Brett Drums. He might be the one you're talking about. He wears like a green bandana and like he'll play like a song like a
Yep.
in a reggae form or something, and it's amazing.
Yep.
It's pretty impressive to me.
Yeah, the stuff people are doing these days, it's I feel like I was very fortunate to have like a base skill set before YouTube really emerged. And then so like you got these drummers on YouTube that went viral or like got super popular playing like just like super basic licks but like flipping their sticks, and like everybody was like super into it. Like, that guy's doing stick tricks. And then it became this thing where it was like stick tricks were like frowned upon, and it was like, how technical is it, whatever you're playing. And then it kind of broke away from both, and it's just like, what does it feel like when you hear these drums drop? And like, to me, that's like way more the language that I speak than like the showmanship aspect. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like, I can appreciate all of it. And the drummers that have sort of like emerged and like remained relevant on the internet, it's like the level that they're playing at is just unreal. And they're made so much better by the ability to like quasi compete against each other with what they're playing, what they're developing. They're pushed toward progress so constantly. Mm-hmm. I can't even measure how much better I am than I was a decade ago, and it's only because I'm seeing people do stuff that I would never have thought to even attempt. Mm-hmm. It's like, that dude can do that. Like, what would happen if I tried that? And then whatever, 100 reps later, I can kind of do it.
I love that. Yeah, I love driving innovation.
Yeah, it's perfect.
The emotion that they show, and you probably do it too, where like you don't really realize you're doing it, but it's you can audibly or visibly see that like it's taking everything out of them, and they're just immersed in it. It's pretty cool. There's no music instrument that I can play. I'm not gifted, but I admire it and I love watching it. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, me too. It's
got to be a stress reliever.
Best stress relief of all time. I hope that both of my daughters are active and learn several instruments, but I hope that they're both like in love with the drums. Selfishly, I hope for that. I don't know. But like at the same time, I think it's for their own interest. Like, I think it's awesome. It's like a really great constructive mental challenge. Socially, I think getting together with people you've never played with before is like its own separate thing. Mm-hmm. I love that. You get together with some guys and you like can't remember their names, but you speak the exact same language musically. Like, that's a really cool separate experience, Let
me ask you this: when you do that, do you walk away feeling like you're bonded? Like,
for sure. Awesome, and you talked about that with hunting. I think it was something similar, or working out.
Working out or hunting or what, it's like you share an experience like that where you like so well respect the craft. I don't know.
Yeah, the people in a way. It's like you can't put your finger on necessarily, but like there's trust there and there's familiarity there, and it's like, oh yeah,
I can do this. Yep. Yeah, I don't know.
What's your name again, dude? No, no, but there is definite truth to that.
That's cool, man. There's probably a whole circle of musicians in our area. That would be cool.
Oh, that network is bigger than you would ever think, and bigger than I still understand. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's the skill level. We've had some like true talent from this area over the years, and it's like people don't. If you're not in the world, you don't have much appreciation or even knowledge of it. Mm-hmm. But like even just like the, poolside, whatever little bands playing, like a duo or whatever it is, like some of those guys are unreal talented, and a lot of them are successful in ways that like we don't understand. But music is awful for that. It's like if you don't end up like a mega millionaire with music, there's like it's like professional sports. Like the level of success is so like head scratchingly low. And I mean, we went to Nashville briefly like a year and a half ago. Went to this bar. These guys were as talented as any musicians I have ever seen. And I know for a fact that they all have full-time jobs. And It's just like, man, like that it's a shame. It doesn't reward talent in any sort of linear fashion. It's just this abstract, I guess that's any art, but for me, it's like frustrating that the true talented musicians are so often unsuccessful building a career around it. Yeah. It's like, man.
It would just be nice if it came to light though, and like the music was heard, because a lot of those guys never get heard. Yeah. That's the sad side, like the side of it. It's like, I just heard of, Gretchen Wilson back in like 07, 06, something like that. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. She was just a country singer and did a karaoke thing, and next thing you know, she just blew up.
Funny.
And it's like the right person had to hear her.
That's all it takes.
It's amazing how that works.
Seriously.
But, yeah, I love music, and it's weird what it does for your being. Like it taps into something that's like, I don't know. Anytime you hear it, even if it's gospel, it's like
separate.
You know what I mean? It's
something
there.
there's a mood like knob,
Yeah.
something that music, like specific songs. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
There's
Yeah.
I really definitely believe that, and there's certain bands. People say my taste in music is so weird, and I'm just like, no, it's not. And I look at my like Spotify Wrapped, and I'm like, my taste in music is so weird. Like, why does Don Henley's like whatever End of Summer? I don't even know the title of the song. Why does that mean something to me? I'm like locked in the 2009 like drive home from Dumsers after my double shift, like living my best life at 1 a.m. That's why I love Don Henley. People are like, Don Henley's the worst.
There's good songs. Dude. One of my favorites is "Dirty Laundry" by Don Henley.
Funny.
You know, that's one of my favorite songs. You know, also what's funny, and I know it's so silly, but like people with funny, like with not funny names, but like Don Henley or like Bob Seger or Ted Nugent, like legends. But yet, if you walked into, this is how dumb I am. I just imagine them walking into like the record deal office and being like, "Hey, my name's Bob. Like, how can we make this cool?" You
Yeah,
know?
right.
People still broke through that plateau and were just because they were great.
Seriously.
You know? I love that, man. I love all of it. I love music.
I think it's good that there's such access now where like you can put something and record something and get something out, even if it's only ever got like 500 listens, like 10 years from now, like there's still a record of it still out there. Like, yeah, there's some bands that no one will ever hear of that like I'm listening to daily or like friends of mine are like swearing by and have tattoos of, and it's like they've got 8 listens on Spotify.
If it's good and it speaks to you, though, it's hard to turn it down.
Yeah,
you know?
seriously. That's where music is just so strange. It's just a strange thing. I love it, though.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of touch on some personal stuff and just see what you were into and things. That's awesome. So, you got anything else you want to add?
I don't think so, man. This has been great.
Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah, you got something great going here between the studio and like your approach. It's keep bringing people on. I think you're hitting on the right topics and talking to people that are, I don't know, the insight aspect is just awesome. I think bringing topics that you're not already super knowledgeable or interested in, it's like that's the perfect way to get down to like how does this communicate and message out.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm not like the best at asking questions, or I'm just generally curious. And some of the questions I ask, it's no predisposition on it. It's just like me not knowing, you know, and it's also my outlook on things. It's so silly. I'm just like I said, I just feel like a regular person. I am that. It's nice so that we can bounce back and forth and think it through, you know.
For sure.
And I see it from both sides of all angles of whatever situation it is. It's fun. It's fun for me too. I really enjoy it. I'm probably going to be the one to take the most away from this conversation. But I really think it's awesome to bring what you do to the surface for hopefully somebody hears this just like the musicians and you know it gets out there. You know.
Yeah. Right.
That's the biggest thing is getting exposure. So.
I totally agree. I think it's a great idea you got here, and it's like instantly the first episode I listened to, I thought of like 2 or 3 people. I was like, he should totally talk to them about whatever.
Got any ideas? Let me have them.
No, for sure.
I'm always looking for guests to have on because it's interesting.
A list.
I love like the undercover jobs too, like something like yours I didn't think about. It's just I hate to say it, it's just not something that's on the forefront of my brain.
Yeah.
Just like some people don't think about an HVAC guy until their air conditioner's broke.
For sure.
You know what I mean? It's like you don't know what you don't know. So, and I love that because I don't know a lot. So there's a lot of topics I can hit. So
for sure there is. And then it's like I don't know, your episode about dollies, like the way that candy is made and like how they've been doing it and how like the moisture in the air and the humidity can change it's like
yeah.
Like I love that stuff. Who the heck thought about the humidity off the ocean creating challenges for the candy maker that's been there for 150 years or whatever? You know what I'm saying? I love that stuff.
I was just as mind blown as you were.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe the amount of thought that it goes into it, and that's what makes them great.
Yep.
And that's what makes you great about what you do, because that's what you're into and that's what you're thinking about, and you're crunching it and being better at it every day, you know? And I love that. We'd all, like I said, community networking, it's all going to work at some point, whether it's now or it's later. It's okay. It's got to get traction at some point if I just keep running blind at it. So
I'd say it's working.
That's what I'm going to do, man.
Keep it up.
Yeah. Where can people find you at if they want to, inquire about financial planning advice?
Yeah. So our firm CFS, we're in Salisbury and Millsboro. We're most of us local, where I think all of us live in one of those three counties, Worcester, Wycomico, or Sussex. Our office phone number is going to be in the disclosure here, and there's going to be certainly social media exposure at any given time as well. I don't know, man. Yeah, I think I'm easy to find.
Okay.
Mike Sise.
Yeah, nice. Heck yeah. Well, I appreciate your time coming in here and hanging out, man. It really enlightened me.
Pleasure. No, I love it. It's great. I don't know how long we've been here, but it doesn't feel like quite long enough, so that's awesome.
I know, right? Isn't that amazing?
It's sure, yeah. It truly is.
Yeah.
If anybody, listeners like me, it's they're probably going to listen at 1.5 times speed anyway, so
yeah,
they'll rip through it.
Yeah, that's interesting you brought that up.
I don't know. It's the only way I can listen. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Oh, well.
It's terrible. You get a lot more in a short period of time when you go double speed or whatever.
Dude, you're efficient. That's all you can say, dude.
You're
efficient. So,
all
right. Well, we're gonna peace out of here and get out of here and get on with the day, man.
Hey, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
See you guys.